Correct.
Do you know if Joe going to come?
I do not. How do I? Sorry.
So we have one member of the public on Zoom.
I am. I think it's echoing. Yeah.
You're on mute.
The volume.
Just that one.
What'd you say?
One is fine, right?
I think you can audio and AC.
It's off. That's a weird part. Okay, I think I got it. Apparently there's two speakers on it. Or, sorry.
So, well, call the meeting to order. Ms. Ware, could you call the roll, please?
Council President Suzanne Souter.
Here.
Councilperson Joseph Day.
Here.
Councilperson Nerman Zubaka.
Here.
Councilperson Brian Mataway.
Here.
Also present, City Administrator Antonina Tantillo and City Solicitor Michael Hoffman.
Thank you. I guess now we have one member of the public on Zoom, is that right?
Correct.
So we don't have public comments on the agenda, but I guess we can do that. Should we start with that?
If you'd like, it's up to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Kuntz, do you have any public comment?
No.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
sir. All right, so we'll start then with the first agenda item, the mid-year budget review. Ms. Tantillo, I assume you have information on that plus what you gave us.
I do. So if you'd like, I'll do it the same way I did last year, go line by line, any things that are sticking out to me that I think may stick out to you, but if you have questions along the way, feel free to let me know, stop me at any point. So we have in front of us the January report, which are the numbers at the end of January. So I'll go over revenue first, and then we'll go to expenses. We're at 58% of the year. And of course, as we know, with being through this budget many times, we're always going to receive most of our revenue in the first half of the year because that's when we receive our taxes. So for the property taxes, we're at 97%, which is great. We only have about less than 5% missing, or bills that are outstanding. You may see some changes in the next couple of reports because we are finally receiving the county appeal data. So we may have, some residents may have paid more than they should be billed in terms of their appeal data now. So they may have some credits on their account. So just if you have any questions going forward on the future reports, just let me know. But we're at 97% received.
When is the county's, I know that appeal for next year, right? Is that correct? Is due?
March 14th.
Okay.
March 14th is the appeal date for the next year.
Next year.
Mhm.
Can we publicize that? Do we publicize it in a?
I can share it.
It was
on the,
mentioned at the last council meeting.
Yeah.
And I thought I saw it on Facebook page, but I'm not sure.
I don't recall. I'll
It may
double
have been
check, but I'll
somebody else
share it.
posting it on Facebook.
But also know
Yeah.
that it's for next year, like. I
Correct.
think that was the important thing, so.
Yeah, the appeals that I'm talking about for this review are for last year's.
Mhm.
Tax penalties were at 117% received. Property tax transfers. We'll talk more about that later in the conversation for different agenda items, but we are at 88% received, and that's as of the end of January. I do know that we received a tax transfer in the amount of $50,000 in the month of February. So we're gonna exceed the amount that we budgeted for, which is wonderful. And again, we'll continue this conversation later in the meeting, but we are aware of the sale of Demers Landing and Helm, and we are still waiting that.
So the 50 was a different property.
It was multiple other properties.
Multiple other
Yes.
properties. Okay.
Yes, so we're thankfully doing really well, but like I said, we can continue that conversation. Delinquent tax collection, we're doing really well. Business license and rental license, those renewals are not at 100% yet because they were collected in January and February, so we should see an increase at the next report. PAC applications and building applications, again, we are doing really well for the year. We're at 83%, at 6 months in. So we'll hopefully earn more revenue on that line, going forward.
Really nice weather,
Yeah,
being through it.
absolutely. The vacant building registration fees, those are due at the beginning of the year, so we'll see that in the next couple of reports. Code violation penalties, hopefully people continue paying their bills, and we're of course continuing to go after people with admissions if they don't pay their bills. The other one is code enforcement cost reimbursements. We have received a substantial amount, and you'll see another number on the expense side where we had to lay out money to have some work done to fix a outstanding code violation, and we are steadily getting reimbursed for that. So I'll point that out when we get there. The trustee appropriations, we will get another payment later this year. Along with MSC appropriations, we should get 2 more for the year.
What about franchise fees? Is this something we talked about last year, like falling in general, or?
Yeah, we've had seen a trend of a decrease. I think some of that has to do, some of the, like for the franchise fees at 29% and the Verizon's been pretty steady, but the franchise fees, I think it has to do with, the fall in the usage and also the billing or the payment timing.
Yeah, it's still at 30, but I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
was gonna
it
say,
doesn't
so are they
outreach
paid
that.
quarterly or?
Yeah, some of them are, and then sometimes like we'll get the June payment in July, so we'll retro it. So it just depends on when they submit that to us.
You would just finish MSC appropriation, I believe.
Thank you. Okay, so the Rivertown rides, we didn't budget anything. Interest, we're doing really well on. We're at 72%. So I expect that line to earn more this year. Wonderful.
This includes, sorry for keep asking questions live, but this includes the interest for all the accounts, right?
Yes,
Including
not
budget
the
stabilization?
budget
Oh, that's-
stabilization.
oh, that's
This is
great then.
general fund only.
This is great then, yeah,
Mhm.
because we
And-
saw some increase there as well.
Yeah, and that account's doing really well. We could talk more about that when we get to the capital line, but we've earned, I was
13,000
just looking at like
there.
February numbers, we've earned like 30,000 on
On
it.
that account, that's
Yeah.
great.
I have a question
Mhm.
on the interest.
Yes,
And first, appreciate everyone's work. You all do a great job. And I'll certainly, if need be, say this to Mr. Wisman, because it may pertain to his actual report.
you're looking at the year to
Yes,
date.
yeah. Recognizing that we have several different types of accounts with
Yes.
different tax allocations. One of the things that I've been looking for, and I know it's been busy and Ms. Taylor has not been here, was an actual delineation that references what the interest rate is for each account.
Mhm.
I believe this is important, for transparency in regards to taxpayer dollars. And then also from a review standpoint, recognizing that interest rates fluctuate.
Yeah,
And it'll give us all, as a city leadership, an ability to see and track, hey, is this account interest rate dropping? Is this interest rate going up, right? Into where we might need to move some funds around to better optimize our yields. Hopefully that makes some sense.
so you just want to point it out on the treasurer's report?
Yeah, like,
Okay.
so like maybe current month interest rate and then maybe prior month interest rate from a comparisons. And then from a analytical standpoint, as we look back or someone kind of chronicles through the records, will be easy to be able to kind of see what's been going on.
Okay. Yeah, we can go.
To that point, you said that about 30,000 in January was interest for the budget stabilization.
I'm sorry, overall.
Oh, okay, my first one was like, are the two, but is the money market and the budget in the same?
No, they're two different accounts and they earn, the budget stabilization fund earns like a little bit more than 3%,
Mhm.
and then the money market was like 1 point
Okay.
something. I don't remember off the top of my head,
Thank you.
but it's much less.
Thank you.
And we were able to get a special rate
That's great.
approved by M&T for that budget stabilization.
That's
account.
great.
As long as we're on that, the capital reserve, that's what is on the agenda tonight, talk about putting money in that, but it shows there's 125,000 in that.
This was established in 2009.
Yeah, so if you remember,
That's the older
Yeah.
one,
yes,
not the new one.
Yeah, it's not on there yet. Yeah.
right,
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Cause I thought it's called the same thing.
yeah. So if we were to, we can talk about it more, later in the meeting, but I would imagine if we were going to keep that account, we would change it to something similar to the budget stabilization account. And you include that 125 in the.
Just wrap that into our new capital reserve.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those-
Okay.
The Riverbend impact fees are completely passed through, right?
Yes,
Wasn't that $500 a house?
I believe so.
Cause at the rate that we've collected, that would have been 120 homes, which I don't think is possible either. And I could have the number wrong, maybe it's.
I mean, if that's the rate, then yes, that would be roughly.
I thought it
Yeah,
was, but I'll have to double check. I don't remember.
I don't think they built that many houses. When I go through Jeff's report every month, what I mean, it's usually like 7 or 8 a month.
Is it based off apartment then, essentially? But there's still no way to.
No, I mean, in Riverbend, it's just based off of the unit itself. It's a
Right.
per unit price.
Yeah.
And I thought it was 500, but there's no way we issued 120 permits in there this year.
Yeah.
So I was just curious, maybe it's 1,000.
Is all of this for fire? Is the entire pass-through going to the fire department?
Mhm.
Okay, great.
Okay, the only other thing I wanted to point out was the restricted fund balance carry forward, which were projects from the previous budget that we moved to this budget, and that included items like, building upgrades, park games, playground match, and park benches. And we can talk about that, later in the expense side. And,
What was the last thing you said, sorry, after playground match?
the park benches. Are there any other revenue questions? If not, I'll move on to expense. So we'll start with public safety. There are going to be a couple of changes that I will make. Of course, the council meeting agenda for next week has already been posted, so I will present a resolution at the April meeting. But we will need to make a couple changes to lines like the professional development, books and publications, and uniforms. We had an officer retire and an officer leave to go to another department back in the fall, and we have now hired 2 recruits. So we're gonna, we saved some in salary because those people were not working here, and we have, hired the recruits. So we need to just reallocate those monies. So I just want to make
To
sure. I
cover
point
their
that out.
academy costs.
Exactly. Thank you. So I'll present that to you at the next meeting in April. A lot of these that have high percentages already, like security cameras, body cameras, or very low, like pest control, those all have to do with the billing cycle of those things. SEO pay job overtime, we're at 62%. That is the reimbursable job. Like when
It's
we.
kind of just a pass through too, really.
Exactly.
We do, we get the money in.
On this
Say that.
page, there's one item
Mhm.
that I could mention.
The first page of expenses.
Yes.
Okay.
Under police, public safety.
Mhm.
So I guess somewhat middle of the page, last council meeting, chief was talking about that victims fund, and the body cameras, right?
Yes.
$13,400. This is an example of one of those line items that he's saying is potentially up for maybe not existing anymore at about at least 40%. And
I just wanna,
Yeah.
point something out. We had purchased our body cameras before that,
Okay.
fund became available from the
Okay.
state.
Okay,
So we have been paying for this ourselves
Okay.
and we don't get the reimbursement from the state. I think maybe there could have been a possibility that after they expended the funds at all the other municipalities who
okay,
bought into that fund, and all their equipment was paid off, then maybe we could get some money to
Okay.
go towards our cameras, but we're fully funding this ourselves. So
Okay.
thankfully we won't be impacted.
okay. Thank you for that. And
Mhm.
I only made references because that's what he had said.
Yeah.
Right.
However, he did say $330,000 over the last 7 years.
Mhm.
And, over the last 7 years, 330,000 divided by 7 is $47,000. And if he's saying 40% is in question potentially, that's $18,800. So I was trying to do the nexus because I know he said body cameras, but thank you for correcting us all,
Mhm.
Ms. Tantillo, that, about $20,000 could at least be in limbo, in regards to monies that need to be, received from some other mechanism.
And that's my question there, to add, would that even show in a regular budget there, or would that be part of, I'm looking at the grant, page 11,
Yeah.
under DPS Violent Crime Grant Fund.
Mhm.
And I'm seeing 25,000 roughly in the budgeted, and then, same under expenses there, like, is this where that would show, not in?
Yeah, it would show under one of the grants.
Like, so we wouldn't find it here at all in previous years, we would just find it under grants because it's not city money, okay.
Correct.
That's easy to track, so it's 25,000,
I was just gonna ask you a question too.
Mhm.
So, and maybe it's just because it's here in the budget. But like I see the county all the time, we have legislation to accept a grant and then move it into the budget.
Yeah.
Although I don't see that here. Is that because it automatically goes in these budget line items?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like we.
I mean, I don't
get-
want to do any more legislation. I was just
Yeah.
asking the difference. I was just curious.
Yeah, I can accept the chief can, but we accept it and then we just report it
Okay.
on these reports.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and we'll move it into the respective fund. Or if we don't have a fund, we'll create one. So like, I'm trying to think of something we haven't received before, but like something on our side, on the city side, like service water matching planning grant. That's
Mhm.
something that maybe 10 years ago we had a grant that we received for it, but we haven't had a fund for that in a really long time. So you might see like a new account for that.
Okay.
but you would have appropriation made for this violent crime fund, right? In your budget system, that you could track all the stuff that was purchased over the years with that
Yes,
money.
under that grant. Mhm.
Thank you. And I only say that because, we're halfway in the year, but we also have to deal with current year and constantly looking at projection forward. And I just wanted to just recognize that.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. It's important to clarify.
Well, the truth is, everybody hears the negative side about that victims of violent crime fund and everything else. But the positive side is it does a lot of good things in small communities like ours
Yeah.
and in larger communities. But here, you know what I mean? The chief can report it and you see how it helps us.
Yeah,
So,
Right.
absolutely.
And well, I think he said he's already spoken with Nicole and Amy and
Mhm.
Darius and Frank about all that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know he does a lot of advocacy as the,
Oh, with the chief
Yeah,
presenting.
yeah.
So those were the main things that I wanted to point out from the public safety side, unless you had any other questions.
But we pay for the academy through professional development is the line item that you were talking about changing,
Yeah,
right?
that's one of the
That's what I
lines.
thought, but
Professional development, most likely books, publications, dues, tolls, and then uniforms.
gotcha.
I'm on public services.
Okay,
already.
I just wanted to see if you had any other
Yeah, yeah.
questions about that. So, do you want to ask your question or do you want me to start? with-
No, if you don't cover it, I'll ask it.
Okay. So for public services, computer and software expense, that's 82% expended. We only have $800 left. There was a fiber issue back in the fall that we needed to replace. So we corrected that. Obviously that was something kind of unexpected, but we're fine for right now and we don't, hopefully we'll be on track for the rest of the year.
Is that typically one-time, purchases of equipment that needs the replacement, and the next line there, office supplies, equipment, printing is maintenance, or am I missing a line for maintenance, or is that that line, I guess?
Yeah, no, everything would go under that. So if they needed like software like Adobe or something, that would go under there. Any other like IT calls we would make for that department would go under there.
And forgive me for my ignorance. I know that a lot of these companies have like governmental, like local
Mhm.
government programs, like discounts for their software. Do we utilize those through
Yeah.
DPI or like through those companies as well?
Yes.
Like,
Sometimes they'll make a direct purchase and we can go through like the safe purchasing,
Mhm.
and things like that.
Cool.
But yes, we work with DTI a lot, and they will help to coordinate and give us grants for certain things, or just, give us, not even going through a grant procedure, but just give us certain things.
Nice.
Postage, we're at 92%, and that is due to code violations. And across the board, I think postage will need to increase for next year, just based on rates increasing. And
So you're saying when we hire somebody to do that job, then we can.
exactly. 2 lines down from that reimbursable private property maintenance code, that goes back to the item that I was talking about in expenses. We had to, lay out some money, have a contractor come out, fix an issue, but the resident is paying that back over time and has been on target. So we should recoup those costs.
So with those, do we always use a private vendor or does Public Works do it sometimes?
It will depend on what it is. This
Okay.
was like a sewer issue
Oh,
and like a plumbing issue. So we had to hire someone private.
gotcha.
But like,
That was for one issue. The other issue was when Dollar General, there was like a truck that packed into it. And we just
Okay.
had to bring out a structural engineer.
Yep.
but like, if they didn't cut their grass, Public Works would take care of that.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. The line below that, administrative expense, that's showing 0%. It will show fully expended, and it might actually show a little bit over on the next report for February. And that is due to just additional expenses that we had with the snowstorms and having staff here for a really long time, purchasing meals and things like that. So I just want to, when you see that jump next month, don't be, too surprised on that. Pest control, we'll just have to increase that line slightly because it's only a few dollars over, but I just want to point that out.
But I assume that's an annual thing, like we have a contract.
Yard waste is at 59%. And landfill is at 49%. Both of those, will continue to increase. I know the rates may increase, but also the amount that we're collecting has gone up a little bit. So just keep that in mind. Some of these items, like on street repairs and I'll just point out street repairs. That's at 0% right now. But once it warms up, we will be completing additional street repairs. So you will see that line utilized.
Yeah, this winter was hard on us.
Yeah.
Some of the roads have some
Yeah.
severe potholes, but.
Yeah, we filled a few last week when it warmed up a little bit, but there's still quite a few. And
Yeah.
some we filled multiple times last week.
Yeah, well, with this weather, I mean.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Same with equipment for parks. So this is where we have the money for the playground, which we will be expending sometime soon. That was a 75,000 contribution from the city. We have to put the down payment on the equipment, and we're waiting to do that with Encore. So we will go ahead and do that soon. That also included the trash cans that we were going to install, and the benches, and the game table that we discussed. So we will be working on that. The pruning and planting of trees. Again, as it gets warmer, we will be extending some more of that to remove some trees that the TAC has advised that need to be removed. Playground maintenance and wood carpet. That has to do with all of the mulch for the park areas, and the Dobbinsville basketball court, which is on Cirillo's calendar. It was supposed to we were hoping to fit into their calendar in the fall, but it got too cold. So, we'll get that done this
After
spring.
this winter, it was probably better off that it's, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Missed this winter anyway.
Right. Exactly, without the wear and tear. And then the dog park, as you know, we're continuing to work on that. I'm finalizing, getting some quotes. It's been hard because all of the snow is at the dog park
They said
location.
they can't really evaluate the area. right?
Yeah, I mean, we have the survey and everything, so we're gonna do our best, and I have someone coming out later this month, this week. But it's been slow moving because of that.
It's like the Black Hills out there now.
We're gonna have
yeah.
to figure out where to put the snow next time once the dogs.
Exactly, I know. Yeah, it's Valerie said it's the mountains of Newcastle out there. Capital outlays, we had budgeted to possibly purchase a used trash truck. We're still looking to make that purchase. We're just trying to see if another municipality is still able to sell theirs to us. And then hopefully move forward with that. If we can't get it from another municipality that we're, familiar with, we'll look on something like Municipid or another like resale kind of site. The handicap curb ramps, we talked about that earlier in the year, but we are working to do additional work and use that line this year. And
So all the other handicap curbs that have been done are under one of the grant funds in the back, right?
yes, the bond bill.
Okay, the bond bill, that's what I meant. Yep, okay.
Yes. But some of that work, we'll use that, some additional work that we have added, we'll utilize that 25,000.
Can we,
It's nice to see them getting done. I'm
oh,
sorry.
for sure, I couldn't agree more. Could we just reach out to vendors who are working or have worked on these and make sure that when they're setting up the kind of slope down, it looks pretty rough. So I'm just worried about that, as it's not as smooth as we see on the existing handicap, kind of ramps. So just on the side, it's very roughly cut. It's not smooth out. So I don't know. I don't think you should leave it like that.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like a typical,
Do you
transition.
have one that you're talking about in particular?
I
Yeah,
can take a picture and send it.
so, they may,
I just walk around town and see it, and it's just
Yeah.
kind of, it's just weird that, it does, how it's flat and then, goes typically straight line or curve, but this is kind of like spotty, almost like it was rushed, it just kind of,
Because I haven't done all of them, but the few that I have walked across
Yeah.
and all seem good.
okay,
And I told you before, Mike Cirillo came around and looked at the other company's work, and he
Yeah.
said that they look good, which you never get compliments from somebody else's work.
Right.
But if there may be some that you're
Yeah.
talking about that we haven't seen or haven't been on.
and I'll have our
But-
engineer review all of them
Okay.
too, and they do when they're built. Some of them may not be fully done. They were working on a few in between the snowstorms,
Mhm.
and they're not fully complete.
I have an idea when this was done, so I'll
That's
just,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, just send me if you can, but like I said, I'll have them review for everything.
Thank
Storm drainage MS4, that is when we have the storm drains reviewed and we've been cataloging all of the storm drains. And we did apply and receive the surface water matching planning grant this year, so we will see I think 13,000 less being utilized. We'll have some savings on that line because we applied and have received that grant. We did apply for a grant for next year, so hopefully we'll find out that award before the next grant cycle, and then we can adjust that line appropriately. But I do see us using a lot of that line because a lot of the work is done in the spring, but we will have a little bit of savings.
On that line,
Mhm.
I'm sure it's in here somewhere, where is your vision if it were to come up, which I know it's ongoing, next sluice gate maintenance
Mhm.
or improvements? Do you see that coming from storm drainage? And I'm
That would-
sure there is some work ongoing analysis on that aspect, right?
Yeah, so we typically will take from like the lines within public, the couple lines above in the general public services,
Okay,
for like materials and things like that.
okay.
But, should we need a larger repair and should we be planning for a larger repair, we would probably do that in capital improvements.
Okay, definitely something I support, so I just want to make sure it's
Thank you.
being considered.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are things that we're talking about internally and thinking about often, so I appreciate that.
Is storm drainage also a grant? kind of thought it was, but perhaps it's not.
A grant?
Yeah, storm drainage line, 7536 line. Or.
So that would be, I don't know if it's in here yet, it could be, it's a reimbursable, oh, here it is. It's on page 9, surface water matching planning grant. I don't know.
It's just memory from the past. I thought that was, almost like showing there, but it was passed through, but not passed through, but
Not the full amount.
okay.
I have to double check on that line actually, so don't quote me on that account.
Is it on page 8 there, top of the page? Part of that, or no? Not part of municipal street aid?
No,
Okay, that's okay. We can
no.
ignore that question.
Another question or comment that I have too, in
Mhm.
regards, first, like I said, everyone's doing a great job. I do need to recognize that obviously this is something Ms. Taylor usually handles
Yeah.
in terms of the account. You're doing a great job,
Thank you.
and sorry for the question.
No,
I just wanted to add.
anything you have.
And then in regards to public services, I know this has for the full council, I think each of us have mentioned it individually and collectively. I'm really happy to see the increased line item in regards to professional development
Oh, thank you, yes.
on public works, and definitely support and advocate that being used
Good.
to the fullest extent.
Thank you. Yes, we sent 2 employees to get their CDL. And they were both
Nice.
really appreciative of that and are using it already. So
Sure.
thank you for supporting that because
That's great.
it's being happily utilized by the employees. All right, so if we can move on to mayor and council if there were no other
Can I
questions.
just ask? a
Yeah,
question
sorry.
at the beginning?
Mhm.
So the building code enforcement, second line on page 3, any, update on that?
Yes, I'm still in the hiring process. I need to repost the job again. But I'm hoping to hire someone soon.
Cool.
I know it's been a really long time, but I will certainly get on that and hopefully get some good applicants for
So
that.
we're not seeing that usage more than 60% maybe by the end of the year.
Yeah.
So like there's gonna be about, like, that could be a fund where later in the conversation, we have some money that we can move
Mhm.
to repurpose, I guess, not move. And then my last question there is, if you said this, I really apologize.
Mhm.
The last line on page 4, right before the total, right before mayor and council capital improvement and road repairs.
Yeah.
Remind me what goes under that,
So that is, give me one sec.
the 54,700 line.
Let me just pull up my notes real quick.
Sorry.
And that code enforcement position is actually the third position.
Right.
Right,
Cause we have Jeff and we have Milt, right?
Right.
And then that's the third one that we wanted to kind of
Yeah, we held that
move
off
along.
to try to keep
Hopefully
the
they can
budget.
train with Jeff and all, but yeah. Hopefully.
One of
he
these
stays
days,
another
one of
year.
these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Police, always down 3 people, at least.
Well, I imagine at some point Jeff's gonna come in and be like, I'm done.
Yeah.
let's hope not.
Yeah, right,
I
right.
agree.
The
Right.
capital improvements included the dog park parking lot.
Cool with the second round.
Ah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you write it?
Norman, that capital improvement line is for the dog park parking lot.
Okay. Oh, because we separated that.
Yes.
I was just curious why it wasn't spent at all. Typically there's at least some of it spent, so I was just
Yeah.
curious about that. That makes sense.
All right, so mayor and council. Salaries FICA, that's pretty typical. Advertising, we are at 84%. And that's, postings in the weekly, so. There's
Is it
not,
because we've had more meetings or the prices went up?
I
Or
think,
both? Both.
yeah. We added the finance committee, certain, meetings, certain, committees may have met more often.
Mhm.
Like the Board of Health, I know they had that's one, but that's one extra meeting.
Yep.
Things like that.
and this Board of Adjustment meeting that had to be postponed. Now we have to advertise it again.
Yes, and that will show up later under Board of Adjustment, but yes, there are increased fees there because of that. The association dues, that's 100% expended, and that's the Delaware Legal Local Governments. General code updates, that's 95% expended, and that is because we've had quite a few ordinances. which are adopted into the code, and every time we do that, we have to contact, general code. Meeting security and rental fees, we're at 79%, so again, that's just due to increased meetings. The annual calendar and monthly newsletter, that is 97% expended, because the calendar is mailed out
Yeah.
at the beginning of the year, so,
Thank God for the calendar and the trash and the
Oh my
recycling
God.
services. It's a
Yeah.
godsend. Every time I don't know, I open a calendar
Yeah,
and I
same
was
here.
like, all right.
good.
Well,
I'm glad you're using it. The audit, it shows 59% expended at the end of January. You will see the remaining balances paid for in the next report. And we're just under the 45,000. I think it's closer to 43,000. So we had a little bit of savings there. Then if we can move on to administration.
so just a question on mayor and council.
Yeah.
So what did we have the 15,000 in economic development activities for? I know there was a item, but I can't remember.
Oh, and I see that it's at 0%. We have spent some. We put some brochures that we were continuing to do. There were a couple other things that we will use it for, like promotions for like Separation Day. We're gonna put there. And I think the Little League and William Penn, I think
Gotcha.
they're both.
Yep,
in
yep.
there. And I actually just got the info on the Little League today. So we'll go
Nice.
ahead and do that. And the William Penn we've already done. So you should see it in the next report.
There were all the kids, the people.
I haven't.
Might are gonna be doing that.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
That's cute.
And we said we would repurpose sea level rise task force in one of the prior meetings. I believe you said something about that, right?
I'm sure.
So we
I just can't
budgeted
remember.
40,000 because we were
The
gonna.
rain barrel.
Oh, yeah, that's right, that's
Because
right.
they're not meeting as much, so they don't need the engineers often.
Yeah,
And because the brick grant, a lot of that was because we were gonna apply for the
Yeah.
brick grant, but that was
Mhm.
canceled. Yes, so the rain barrels we are working on with the flood resiliency committee, and we have found a really good opportunity with rainbarrel.ca, and I think Brian and Suzanne, I know they've reached out to you as well, that company, and we met with them and they offer a really good program. So more details to come on that, but we should be introducing that sometime in the spring.
sounds good, thank you.
Mhm.
So still on M&C, for advertising and meeting security rental, there's similar kind of increase. I thought that we had lines for all of the other boards that are meeting, so which ones are the other boards that are not having their own lines under mayor and council? Is that,
Yes.
and you said that's the newly established finance?
Committee.
Mhm. And what else?
Board of Health has its own line, Historic Area Commission has its own line, Planning Commission has its own line. Board of Adjustment has its own line, so that.
Police
is-
accountability is probably lumped in there, right?
Say that again.
Police accountability.
Probably.
Yes, thank you. Police accountability is, TAC has its own line.
I thought we increased this before the year because we got a new quote for the senior center, so I was just curious why that was not
We did.
kind of aligned with where we are in the year.
We
But
did.
that makes
We're
sense.
gonna
that
have to
doing-
reevaluate at the new budget, how many meetings we are having. Again, we're gonna have to take a look at that.
That's all I have, thank you.
Okay, so for administration, we have typical amounts for salary, FICA, health, all of that. Employee retention, that goes to the employee redemption fund. I believe the professional development, it shows that it shows a misapplied bill there, so that line is not reflected properly. It should only be $100 expended.
So instead of 1656 for those not joining online, that should be just 100, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Dues and publications, that is over 100% expended, and that is for the ICMA membership and the Chamber of Commerce. There's just a little more than anticipated, so we'll adjust next year accordingly. Again, you see high usage of postage, so we'll wanna fix that for next year. Administrative expense, that just depends on, when we use that line. A lot of that has to do with like the Christmas party and things, that are typically in the front half of the year. Fuel and oil, I believe we reduced that when we were budgeting last year. But we'll have to evaluate that as the year continues and gas prices are unknown, and that'll be across the board. Software support. That again has to do with, things like our Edmunds, system and other software that we utilize. Special projects and grants, that is 100% expended, and that has to do with the special projects and grant fund that we created at the end of, or I'm sorry, at the start of the fiscal year last year. So that amount fully went into the separate fund in the amount of 35,000. And if, you know, we can talk later about whether or not we want to use some of that to fund some grants.
That was matching, right? Like that was money to be put aside for matching.
Correct. Yep.
Or kind of middle of the top of the page, under computer hardware and IT services, it's
Yes.
expended little, 110,000, we have a budget for 60,000.
Yes.
Was there something that we were trying to overhaul this year that, you know, was budgeted for more?
Yes, we were trying to make some changes. We did get a grant, so a lot of that will be covered under the grant. But unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago, we had a squirrel bite our fiber. So we will have to utilize a bunch of that. Not a bunch, but some of it. And then there are some other purchases that we're still, you know, in the process of making, and some changes that we're looking to update, that you'll see later on this year.
Squirrels, they ate all my bird. I got two things against them.
They're crazy.
And the last thing I had there was, oh yeah, I think the answer is no, but I mentioned something about looking into a budget reporting for annual review and mid-year review.
Yeah.
Have we budgeted that in this cycle, or did we give up on it?
We did not budget that in this year. I don't remember the cost off the top of my head. I think it was higher than we had thought.
Yeah. I think we gave up on it because
I think
whatever the city of that we thought.
Ocean View.
Ocean View
Yeah.
mentioned was a little higher than we wanted to. Okay,
Yeah, we
That's
can
fine.
certainly look into it as we budget for next year. Let me just make a note of that.
thank you. And that was a one-time, right, setup?
I think it was a
right?
one-time setup, but then also an
That's
annual,
all.
yeah. So human resources, advertising's at 70%, and that again is just due to hiring and the time that it's come through. Board of Adjustment, professional fees, we have extended that line, and we will continue extending that line because of the Board of Adjustments that have occurred and the need to bring in outside counsel on some of them and things like that. So that will continue to go up, and that is a very difficult line to anticipate because you never know.
How many are gonna come up?
Right. When you say outside counsel, you mean other than?
Other than Mike, so there has been a Board of Adjustment appeal to a city decision that was made.
Oh,
And so Mike's gonna represent the city, they don't have someone else representing the board.
Okay, I got you.
Building maintenance. We have capital reserves at 2%. That is for a security project that we've been working on. And we are continuing to work on that. We are hoping to start the actual construction in the late spring. So hopefully I'll have an update for you as we get closer to that. Porta potties, we have not used too much, and let's keep it that way.
Are we planning on having porta potties in addition for 250, separation and all that stuff, like as a strategy, or less? Or are we trying to do some of those fancy ones for, that particular event?
for separation day, so
Yeah.
the porta
Like those trailer ones, you know.
yeah, the porta potties for separation day will go to that project.
Out of their budget.
Good.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're gonna use the fancier ones, I can check in on that. But are you talking about like long-term, even after the event?
I wonder if this is just for, you know, 250.
Yeah.
I don't wanna. When we do have to import, they're way better, obviously, but you know, or as we're welcoming more people, I wonder if it's something to, you know, showcase as a city to, you know.
Yeah, we
Porta
can,
potties are just fine too, you know, we're, you know, we have,
yeah,
they're more practical probably. But if the price is okay, I would consider it, I guess.
okay, yeah, I'll certainly look into it. I think for the long-term app, like extended beyond separation day, I don't know that we would necessarily need them, because we,
I don't think so, yeah.
yeah, and you know, throughout the city when visitors come, if they attend, like, go to the courthouse, go to the sheriff's house, they have restrooms, so.
I mean, we have a working bathroom, so
Right.
that's the biggest
Yeah.
plus now in comparison to the past, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And I mean, with the increased volume, we may need to clean a little bit more down there, but knock on wood, I think it's been pretty good so far.
Yeah.
yeah. The other item I forgot to mention, during the public services capital, improvements, or, whatever the line was called, was the, installation of the baby changing stations
Oh, yeah.
in the, park bathroom, and we'll do that, in the spring. I did just want to mention, I have some concerns with installing them, so we'll see how they go, and I'll provide you updates if there are any issues, but I just, you know, have concerns about them being used incorrectly, you know,
Yeah,
in a restroom like that.
I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say no.
I was gonna say with spring hopefully coming sometime and the weather breaking, I think it's important to, not say it's not being done, but be specific about maybe testing out security, equipment, and making sure that, all angles are represented,
Yeah.
especially when, the new playground equipment gets laid down, et cetera. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're already talking about, you know, what we're gonna do while that is going on, so.
And we don't have the bathroom cameras in yet though, right?
No,
We
but
got the
I'm,
vendor and we got it set up, but we don't have them in yet.
correct,
Okay.
correct.
That's what I thought.
But we're hoping to get that done sooner than later and have it done before
Yeah,
the playground is installed.
because the trustees agreed to pay for at least the bathroom cameras.
Yes, yes.
And I think to
That's what I
your
thought.
concern with, you know, the baby, you know, changing stations. I think once camera is installed, my concerns are, you know, not alleviated, but you know, like at the minimum, because any vandalism, you know, in general will be able to, you know.
but the
use that
cameras are
footage.
already on the
I
outside.
understand, you know, obviously, but you know, like it'll help us, you know, to provide something to the police department to, you know,
Yeah, hopefully it'll be a little bit more of a
or with
deterrent.
insurance claim, whatever, you know, you may
Right.
need, so.
Knock on wood, I mean, it's been good.
Yeah.
We haven't had a lot of,
No, we've had a handful of issues and they've really been kept to a minimum.
Yeah.
So let's keep it that way.
yeah.
All right, insurance, that's just, you know, how we break it up throughout the year.
So that's just payments, quarterly payments, I believe, then?
Yeah.
It being at 7.5, just looks like. But
Yes. And professional and contractual services. We are entering negotiations, so that will be expended along with potentially some for HR and other legal. Engineer, because we didn't have that brick grant. We know that some of that is reduced, but we have been working on some projects that will probably show up more in the spring. As you know, the winter for some things kind of died down. City solicitors at 73%. And there's just been a need for that, so we'll have to evaluate that at the next budget cycle. Planning Commission, professional development and training. There was some training that members did want to attend back in the winter, the start of the winter, but they filled up really quickly, so they couldn't attend, unfortunately. And then we have used a lot of contractual services for the lawyer and the city planner at the planning commission meetings, and to prep for some of those meetings as they dealt with a lot of issues, you know, this year. And the comprehensive plan update, where did I put my paper? Oh, I use this one. That, we used a portion of that, I believe, to, put the 10,000 in the comprehensive plan fund, which we established at the start of the last budget season, so that's where that $10,000 went.
Okay.
So that update that we have every year provided to us for comprehensive plan, it's not part of that line?
Correct.
Okay.
So this is when, so like this year we had the 5-year comprehensive plan update. The planning commission did not have any updates that they had to move forward with and go back to revise the comprehensive plan. But if they would have, we could have used funds from there. And
I'm talking about,
the annual report.
the annual report that we sent to the state that I can't remember when that, I'm guessing that's just part of the contractual line there.
Typically, and that's at the end of the year, so you won't see it yet.
Mhm. But would it come out of there or would it come out of some other line?
My understanding was that this was set up, to, plan for 10-year.
No, I know,
Yeah.
I'm just asking whether we.
Monies.
That's what the
annually.
fund is, fund just.
$10,000 a year we're
But-
putting away. so it
Yeah, yeah.
wasn't-
But you're saying the additional 4,000, would we put that report?
No, I'm asking, is that coming out, and which line does it come out when that report is prepared, I guess?
I think it typically comes out of professional development, but we can now put it to the comprehensive
Professional development or professional services?
contractual services.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I looked at the wrong line and just said it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know that's a great ad there, 10,000.
But yeah, so that would be something that our city planner typically works on for us, but yes, you can put it there. And I don't expect it to equate to the $4,000.
Okay.
But if we did need to make like substantial changes to the comp plan this year for the 5-year update, we could have taken it from there.
And to your question about should we add 4,000 later in that other fund, I'm all for it so that, even if we don't expend it after in 5 years' time, like that's totally fine. I guess I would first ask neighboring cities or cities, who we talk to through, legal governments, what it typically costs so that, we don't have to.
Yeah,
find
there's
out too much if
different
it's,
ways to go about it, you just do the updates with your own engineer and your city planner. Do you utilize like the University of Delaware and go through IPA? So
Mhm.
there's plenty of different ways that we can go through, but we can certainly get like a rough estimate.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
what
just
it's
to see what the ceiling is so we can then keep funding every year,
Yeah.
so it's something that,
Yeah.
Couple of thousand
So are
dollars
you-
every year.
Did one of you just say you wanted to move, if we don't expend the additional 4,000 by the end of the year, you want to move that to the fund?
I just said, I don't see a problem with it personally. Whether it's there or anywhere else in the budget, we'll eventually spend it for that. So whether it's been in 5 years or 15,
Yeah.
it can always be retracted back. If we spend 8,000 in 5-year time, but we need 6,000, that's still in there, yes. But that can go up for the, that's just my,
No, I think that's a
not amount that's gonna
good idea.
change anything in the budget.
Right. Yeah, we can definitely bring that back up in like May and see what we want to do. And then Hack, the architect is right on track for the end of January, 58%.
With HAC, what is the historic preservation?
Oh, that is for the grant.
Oh, that's right. We have to,
Which we are waiting to hear the amount that we're gonna be
Okay.
awarded, and I believe we were asked to actually increase the ask because they had more funds available and we had more to do. So the amount that we could potentially see as a match is like 6,800 or in that ballpark, so we'll certainly use that line if the award does come through. You may have seen that line utilized on a previous report for this year, but that was just a misapplied payment or bill, and we have corrected it since because that is for the grant.
And the matching is flat, it doesn't increase if we're requesting more?
It does,
Oh, it does?
yeah.
So you said 6,800 or ballpark of that is the new projected match?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll just be right under the 7,000 for that line.
that's great.
Do we have meeting security at every HAC meeting? Well, we don't like at the planning commission,
Sorry, say that again?
but we don't like the planning commission or the board of health, right?
We have it at every meeting.
but that is
Every-
planned
We have
into ours.
security at every meeting.
Yeah.
But those line items are coming under us then.
We should, add that here.
I was just
Board of
looking, I
Health-
see that PAC
Board of-
has their own line item. Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
Board of Health does, HAC does,
Oh, I
Planning
see.
Commission should, yeah, some of these need additional.
Can
line.
you?
I think, I
Can you
imagine
present that?
historically, it seems like the ones that had like a professional advisor kind of had their, separate.
Well, I mean, a Board of Health it don't have a professional advisor, and
Oh.
obviously we have meeting security there. I didn't
No,
realize we
that's
had
cool.
meeting security at all
Yeah,
the
Okay.
commission meetings. and stuff.
yeah, we do.
I'm not
But
complaining.
Especially when we're here at this building, we should have someone.
Yeah,
we
well,
shouldn't be
it
in
only
this-
makes sense, I guess, if you're at the police building.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
but
Before
under,
we move from there, would you mind separating plannings, security
Mhm.
stuff from MNC, just so we can.
yeah, I
follow
can
the
put
trend,
this
you know,
here,
like-
but going
Oh,
forward.
yeah, absolutely, I know, it would be messy with,
Yeah, I will actually
Great.
create lines for all, even if we put zero. I think we should
Yeah, yeah,
create
right,
lines for
yeah,
all
yeah.
commission.
it's just, it's easier for us to track, is it, city council doesn't need more, but it will,
Yeah.
it would be helpful to know, oh, okay, planning's being allowed this year, like, that's what it would tell us, kind of. But,
And all the boards are meeting here, right?
Yes,
Board of
except the
Justice.
planning commission had a lot of meetings in the fall and summer at the senior center.
Cause
But
they
that was
were gonna
the
have a lot of people.
Oh,
Understood.
the hearings about the,
Yeah.
short-term
B&B,
rentals and all that stuff.
we might have a appropriation for planning already, it's just not being used.
I'm sorry, I didn't really get.
No, no, that's
No,
fine.
I'm just saying, like, it
I'm
might.
glad you brought it up. Cause it was bothering me too. The couple lines under Board of Health, supplies is fully expended with a little bit of overage, and I think that's for the health fair.
Mhm.
Postage, that is certainly overextended, and that is because any like health and safety code violations are billed to that line. I want to reevaluate that because I don't think it should go under Board of Health, but,
Oh, you mean like code enforcement,
Code
health and
enforcement.
safety should just be under code enforcement,
Yeah.
not under Board of Health.
yeah, and if
Right,
I break
right,
it up on that, under code enforcement, that's
Yeah.
fine, but I think we should just reevaluate that in the future.
Yeah.
And then meeting security, we had more meetings than planned for.
They've been overperforming as a committee, so you can't complain about that. They've done a lot. It's been nice. That health fair was nice.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
Very good. They're planning for another one. They were hoping to quickly turn it around and do something in April, but we're looking at the fall again. And that's pretty much it. Are there any other questions about things I didn't go over or did go over for that?
This has been something I've been, in contact with somebody for a while, but I'm not gonna ask the council to vote on it. I'm putting it up in a summer cycle. I wanna add under health, courses for seniors. I spoke to my colleague who's running that program at UD that offered to provide some free courses, but I wanna see if we can add some line in there for, match or something for folks to do it, but I'll formalize it and figure it out, play with numbers and all that stuff, see what they would look like, but it seems like it would be good fit there potentially.
Okay, and I would definitely encourage you to talk to the Board of Health and try to coordinate with them because they have some ideas along the same vein, so I think that would be a good idea.
Good.
And I'm happy to do that, if you want to send it info too.
I saw them having conference the other day in the city of Lewis, actually.
Oh, really?
So that brought it back to my mind. That,
Yeah.
we should engage with them,
Yeah, that's great.
they brought them speakers, but I think it's important that we in our community encourage both mind and physical, wellness, so.
Yeah, absolutely. They even talked about, in a previous Board of Health meetings, they talked about maybe aligning like the health fair with presentations and speakers and having like a fully coordinated event.
Yeah, it'll be great, because we can always probably get, I presume, somebody from DHSS to come
Yeah,
and give a speech, but even, Christiana.
yeah, and they were, all those people were there at the
Yeah.
last health fair, and I'm sure they would have loved to do the presentation. And was it the Morris, Brian, who we met with too? They had a lot of presentation opportunities as
They
well.
did, and, University of Delaware Cooperative Extension,
Mhm.
they gonna come back.
Yeah, so I I think we have a lot of opportunity. That's all I have regarding the budget, in terms of this mid-year. You let me know what you want to touch on next, and then I can.
Can you walk through the grant funds and stuff?
Yes, I will do my best.
I know there's a lot of them, but I mean, it seems like there's a lot of money there too.
I'm not gonna be able to tell you everything off the top of my head.
I understand.
But yes, we have municipal street aid, which we talked about at the last council meeting. We have a lot of carryover from previous years. And we had to use some of that for, the Cirillo removal of the snow. We will still have carryover. We're in a very good position with that. We thankfully do get those funds every year. And we'll hopefully get more as time goes on. It has not increased in many years. Community Transportation Fund, Goodwill, that was a pass-through for equipment for the fire company that was awarded to them from a state delegate, and I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it was for a vehicle. I'm sorry, I don't remember
That's all
the
right.
details of it.
So why is it still here? I presume 23 in the end is for 2023 fiscal year, if it's already been expended, just curious. Or
It
am I
may still
misreading
have,
that?
it still has a balance.
Okay,
Mhm.
I
So-
don't see it. The expense shows same amount, so.
Yeah, so the way that the report reads, it's very odd, which is why I'm gonna have a hard time explaining it. But I believe it still has balance. Because there's nothing expended for this year. So
Okay,
the availability on the expense side is that 5,000.
I see. Okay, so YTD would show, that would indicate that it's expended year to
Yes.
date. Got it.
Yes. The bond fund, that is for the floating pier, some additional funds for future improvements of the floating pier. Community Transportation Fund for 25 and 26. That includes road repairs that are currently underway. That are, and 23 and 24. So there's many different bonds in here from over the years. Some are still outstanding, to be done, or some funds are left over. So it includes road repairs, it includes playground, it includes cameras, it includes building, capital improvements. Let's see, surface water matching planning. That is what I mentioned earlier. We have the ORPT grant for the playground. We'll talk about another ORPT grant later in the meeting. We have the Teddy grant, which was the tree grant that we planted back in October. We have a DEMA grant, which was for a study for building evaluation and impacts if there were flooding. We have the cycling feasibility study, which we completed in the fall. We have a cybersecurity grant. And then we have a bunch of police grants, which are CJC, violent crime, Sally and Edie, and highway safety. So these are for various things, like highway safety could be like overtime for, directed patrol or things during like particular hours, or they might have like DUI checkpoints or things like that. CJC could be for equipment.
So, I'm sorry, just to go back before that, the DEMA grant looks like it's from 2019.
Yes.
Is there regular expenses or something that we have a plan for that grant? Or is it something we should be looking to like match to that grant?
No, so that grant, I have to double check on that, but I believe the work is mostly completed. I have to check what
Okay.
this remaining balance is for.
Okay. And I noticed it off the top of your head.
Yeah, and that's something like 2019, I wasn't here for that, so maybe there is an additional part of it that I have to follow up on, so I will
Yep.
certainly do that. Okay, then we have Separation Day, that grant. And yeah, that's it, Separation Day.
What happens when we overuse highway safety grant, like example, like do we cover rest of that cost from other funds or?
So we some of this has to do with timing, so we may have, a grant that's to be paid to us, like some of this could be
We
reimbursable.
expended, but anticipating added.
Yeah, so it just depends on some grants are upfront, some grants are reimbursable, like the Teddy grant was reimbursable, so that line would have showed up as red. And, now that we've received the funds, it's in the black.
Thank you. I will say, it's a lot of pages to go through the grant, but I'm happy also to see a lot of pages. You know, that just means that we're, you know, increasing, you know, the dollars that, you know, that we
Yeah.
have as a city and that city taxpayers don't have to pay for.
Yeah, absolutely, and
Thank
we'll continue to add to that.
Love to hear.
Very good,
Yeah, there's a substantial amount of money still in.
Yeah,
in
and
this
not
section of the
used,
budget.
Yeah.
definitely.
absolutely. And a lot of it has to do with the road repairs that are still underway. That's a big portion of the grants, along with the police grants. But just something to keep in mind as we continue with this year and go to the next budget season.
Yeah.
Last year, we did not get any bond bill for road repairs, so that's something we have to think about, you know, strategically using municipal street aid, strategically
Yeah.
going after other grants, and then really just planning with our own budget funds, how we're gonna maintain the roads.
Is that the fund that, municipal street aid where the underground utilities are paid out of or not? What is that paid out of, do you know? That we did in, Van Dyke,
Oh, that was all MSC doing. that.
MSC?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was, we didn't pay for them to do that. They did that for continuity and.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's part of their long-term planning.
Right.
But did they get a grant for that? Is that what you're?
I don't know if they got a
I
grant
don't,
for
I
it,
don't think that.
city money.
but it wasn't our money.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
No, I knew it was something we didn't pay for, but I didn't.
It is a I know it is a long-term thing, Joe, and I think part of it why it's long-term, one, it costs so much. And then two,
Oh,
I
right.
think they're trying to do it in-house
Mhm.
as much as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know they wanna try to do what it makes the most sense for like each area, so
Yeah.
if there's construction going on or before construction occurs and
I was about to say, is that coordinated with you and engineers? and
yeah,
stuff?
we're definitely trying to make sure that we do that going forward.
Yeah, because that would be expensive.
Yeah.
Redo,
Absolutely.
that's great.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see this year that we're gonna have to spend more money on infrastructure.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's more than just the roads.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
roadways, it's
Catch
all the
basins,
signage that we
yeah.
have in the city, all of our buildings, I mean,
Yep.
a lot of our buildings are older, so.
Yeah.
Are we pushing for signage update before 250? I know that we have money in the budget for it,
Yes.
for those stand.
Yeah, we're working on that and the partnership wants to help with that too, so I'm trying to coordinate with John Reeves on that.
All right, great.
Nice.
And then for the signage, I saw the line had, you know, most of it unused earlier. I forgot to mention, but would that include like signage? I know this is signage for the streets, but where would it fall, the yellow lines on this, as you cross in this street walk?
For the
on
new,
sides?
for the new ADA,
For all of them, throughout the city, in all the neighborhoods, like if we could walk around and identify the ones that need to be repainted.
yeah, that would be
Where
something
would
that
that
we would
fall
have to
under?
pull out under municipal street aid. But for the new ADA curbs, that's something that will go in eventually.
Yeah, I
as we
understand.
finish that up. Yeah. But to that point, I know we've been talking about it for a really long time, but I definitely am trying to work with all departments to put together a capital improvement plan and think about every aspect of what will need to be maintained long-term and what needs to be done now versus, 10 years from now and how we plan for that, because that'll be really important to us moving forward.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, yeah, absolutely.
That's helpful with a capital improvement, funding of
Yeah.
the fund and, thinking about the future for sure.
Absolutely. Do you want to talk about number 2? For grants awarded?
So. That's about the budget stabilization. What do we need to do about the grants? Are there things?
So I gave you this handout, which I emailed to you very late today.
Oh, right.
But there are 2 grants that we were recently awarded. and we do need to match
Oh,
them. The
great.
first is the Outdoor Recreation Parks and Trails Grant, which is for the Delaware River Trail, and that is to continue the feasibility and the design to enhance connectivity, safety, and resiliency with the bike path along the Delaware River from Lucan's Drive Industrial Park to the Twin Stands Industrial Path to connect to the Bull Hill Historic Area and related improvements. And this would bring us to the next phase of the project as outlined in the report, and that would be the completion of additional studies like wetlands and, different species and topographic studies and things like that, along with additional engineering. So we were awarded 190,000, which is more than we thought we would get, which is wonderful. And to complete that phase, it's 342,981. So we would need to match with $152,981. With the help of Councilman Mataway, we've been pursuing additional grants to help fund this. And we have completed a water resources grant because that does fall where one of the dikes is, with Senator Congresswoman McBride's office. And I talked to all of the federal delegation about possibly continuing funding for that. There are also congressionally directed funding applications due the end of this week and the end of March, to which I'll be applying for to support this project. I submitted an AARP grant today to support this. We have submitted a grant with Healthy Communities through Delaware Community Foundation to support this project. So we have done a lot of outreach to see if we could receive additional grant funding to provide that match of 152,000. But unfortunately, I won't have an answer today. DNREC would like for me to sign the agreement they wanted me to sign it before the end of February, but now we're at the beginning of March. But I didn't want to sign it if that's something that we don't want to continue supporting until we know we have a definitive match.
So the match ask is tentative in the sense that if we get all the other funding you just mentioned, congressionals, DCF, Healthy Communities,
Yes.
that would reduce that ask. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Assumption?
And we also have some others. I know, Ms. Tintel mentioned that there's a couple more in the pipeline.
Yes.
That we plan on applying for, that we've got some positive preliminary feedback on. Our state delegation is also aware of this project, as well as our friends in Newcastle County, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
I love this project of connecting, entire city together and adding more bikeable paths, walkable paths. So opportunity for nature lovers too. I love that nature center in Wilmington as you go up the bike path, I can see potential for that being added to our city through this avenue, as we design this, and we have a lot of untouched nature that could be, shared with others and our neighbors. So I don't see this just, as a walking trail or biking track. I see this as a preservation effort as well that can unlock a little more than just this personally. And I also think that a lot of those folks that you just mentioned can trim this match requirement lower. So, I think worthy pursuit.
Two questions. One sort of practical, well, they're both practical, but logistics about the bike path itself. Residents have pointed out to me that it would go very close to the river in an area prone to flooding. And so is it really sensible to build a path there when it might be destroyed by flooding? And is that part of the evaluation?
That's part of the evaluation to determine whether or not we're gonna, well, first of all, the dike is part of the evaluation and whether or not we need to raise it. So that's one part. The second part is how are we doing this? Are we building it on top of what's there, or are we building a boardwalk and accounting for things like that, for flooding and making sure it's elevated, and how are we doing that? So that's all part of the future study.
That's part of
This first feasibility study was only 25,000, and we did a lot with that 25,000, but there's still a long ways to go in terms of planning and design.
So we could go through all this and they could conclude that it's not feasible.
Potentially, but what they found thus far is that it is.
Okay. And then my second question is, if you sign this letter of commitment
Yeah.
and we don't get these grants, can we withdraw?
Yes. we can.
So it's not an absolute commitment that we're gonna come up with this 153 for all practical purposes, $1,000.
Correct. And I did also want to mention, like to Norman's point, this is so much more than just a walkable, bikeable path. It's safe routes to school. It's so many different things. It's environmental,
Economic
it's
development.
economic development, it's historical. It's
Well, and I think the one big part that got me is we're trying to connect the city together too.
Right.
You know
right.
what I mean? Going out to Buttonwood and everything, we hear it all the time, there's no connection.
Yeah.
This
Exactly.
path is like, I feel
The
like
key.
it's the connection, so
Absolutely.
Right.
that people can, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can feel like a part of this city,
You
you
come to
know?
Delaware City from, Battery, but you can't come to your neighborhood in the
Right.
city. you know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's-
No, I agree that it would be
Yeah.
wonderful to have this, it's just
Absolutely.
the practicality of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
with
And I don't
work
think the-
And the money.
Absolutely.
I don't think they'll ever tell you that you can't build it. They're gonna tell you,
Yeah.
this is how
But
you
it'll
do it.
cost-
Yeah, it may not be what you
I mean,
want, or it
it's
might be a
$7 million.
lot.
I was gonna say, it might be $10 million if it has to be all boardwalk, cause that's very expensive.
But they can also give us alternatives.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
And I'll be honest with you, because it's an evaluation of the dikes and it extends the pathway, I think we commit to this and say, even if, I would vote to commit to this, even if we had to take money out of reserves or something. I think it's that important to the city. I think, you know what I mean, that's one of the best things about the city is our path network and everything and all
Yeah.
the open space that we have. And I think a lot of people are using that already. It's just not formal, you know what I mean? And you can only go so far.
Exactly.
Right.
But I do think it's a good opportunity for us.
A couple of things, for me, a lot of these conversations that we're having are, one, I love them, and two, they're cyclical, they're kind of all interconnected. So, the Delaware Skills Center, for example, federal, Representative, Lisa Blunt Rochester, she actually, congressionally delegated a lot of money over to the Skills Center. Said to say this is an area that's already identified by federal delegation as an area to improve and make better. And we're just kind of coming on top of that. In regards to some of these other conversations we're gonna have later about capital improvement funds, interest, things of that nature. One of the reasons for me why I'm so excited about doing it prudently, for getting cash in our accounts that better optimizes our yield. Because, for example, right now, I think we're at about, what does it say?
72.
Interest, $107,000. If we can dump more of this money in the account that yields almost 4% interest, just by the money simply sitting there, we're gonna easily get $400,000 worth of interest that we could use for capital improvements and things of that nature without even touching principal.
I agree with what everybody has said. I think just that alone, feasibility study for that is important for city on water, so like just knowing the next steps there is critical, but
Mhm.
if we are able to connect to Buttonwood, that would be incredible. To all the stuff that you also mentioned environmentally, there's other funds to look at, as you already are doing, but in general, I think hopefully the feasibility study comes with some options for us to do, but I also am pretty confident that, with our fundraising efforts, we can make this, not that costly for the city because it's so multifaceted, I get that.
sounds like we're all in favor of it, do we need a formal vote?
I think so, somewhere, right?
You're looking for direction to sign the commitment.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you were okay with me moving forward with that.
And it's a non-binding commitment.
Yeah, if it turns out that we can't, we can always withdraw.
Yeah.
How that works in our favor or not for future applications. I'm
Well,
not
yes,
sure.
it would,
But
but
I think worst case scenario, we could always withdraw.
And to that point, you signing the agreement is not necessarily, like, I think we have up to like a year. Is that
Yeah, oh yeah,
right?
we have like 2 years. Yeah,
Right, so
yeah,
this
we
is
have
not-
time.
so it's not like we have to come up with the
Yeah.
money tomorrow.
Yeah.
Correct.
This will probably be spread over at least 2 budget years, I would
Right.
think, at this
And if-
point,
even if-
we're already in March.
Even if we don't get the whole 153,000, if we get 2/3 of it
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
then we're in much better position to be able to fund it, the rest of it ourselves.
Right.
So then the consensus is to authorize Antonina to sign this letter with Denver. And that's sufficient. Okay,
Is that gonna show under budget stabilization fund? Like, where's that line gonna go? Is it gonna be special projects and grant fund? I'm just curious where does it show there? And is the best process to use interest from that budget stabilization because it's earning, yielding the most? Like, how does that, like, where would be expended from, I guess, or show it as a line.
Yeah, that's,
Now that you're, because we have to show it matching somewhere, right?
we don't, not right now, not until we actually expend it. But we could take it, if we wanted to
Market.
move funds from budget stabilization into the general fund, we could do that.
I would not recommend it just because of interest we're earning.
Yeah, I don't
We
think
can
we
make
need to
that
do
amount
that
of
now,
money
when we're ready
in 2
to.
years
Right.
to pay for it.
But if
you know.
we, next year, say, we wanna have a line for, that line for the, special projects and grant fund, we can apply it there. In the budget, on the budget
Yeah.
side, not the fund side.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the second one is that we need to talk about was your safe streets.
Yes, so that is a federal grant that we were awarded to be used by the city to develop a safety action plan for the study area and pilot a 0.5 mile Delaware Street demonstration. We would include data analysis to define high injury network, a road safety audit, and include stakeholder engagement, and a public action plan with prioritized projects. A 12-month pilot with testing of pedestrian bump outs, high visibility crosswalks, and parking and loading delineation with crash and speed data and surveys informing implementation. And this is in the area where we did the walkability study downtown in the historic area. We have looked for an opportunity where there is a lot of traffic, there's a lot of pedestrians, and how we can better improve that. And this kind of builds off of that walkability study and involves the public in a greater way to develop the safety action plan and work to actually test some of those recommendations out. So that award was $435,000 and 870, and we would need to match with 108,967.50. And this too would take some time to get started. I still have yet to connect with my federal contact for this. We had an introductory webinar a couple weeks ago, but things are kind of slow moving with this one. So again, we don't know exactly when we will be able to get this started, but probably not for a while. I will have to, if I was looking for additional grant funding, which I am, it would have to be non-federal funding, so it couldn't be a state fund like the TAP grant, which it could not be a state fund like the TAP grant because that gets money.
It has to be non-governmental,
non-federal. So it's
but the states, but the TAP
It's
is
a-
considered federal because it's
Yeah.
passed.
exactly.
So no federal.
So, can you just explain it a little further? I kind of understand the gist of it, but I guess I'm asking, like, who does this? Who would we hire to do this type of?
So
thing?
like our engineering firm, AECom, they're who helped me draft this.
Okay.
And they would kind of help lead us and they would
Okay.
engage various stakeholders. So they would engage members of council, members of the planning commission, different residents, different, like the city planner would be involved, maybe a city attorney, building official,
Mhm.
like different stakeholders within the community, and look at data and look at issues that they're seeing and develop a plan of, we should maybe consider painting the side of the street, to allow for a pedestrian walkway or to have a bump out here or do something like this.
Is the half mile just a half mile of Delaware Street, or is it like a half mile radius of Delaware Street?
It's a half-mile radius. Let me
Okay.
see if I can.
So it would take into account other areas that we've identified,
Like Sixth Street.
like
Right.
Sixth Street or like Seventh and South, that
Yeah,
funky
yeah,
intersection.
Right.
So I think the only other question so when they do the pilot program, I assume at that point they bring in a contractor and they'd set up whatever temporary
Yes.
bump outs and stuff, and then they'd evaluate at the end of them.
Yes, the
And-
effectiveness, the desire to continue,
Yep.
all of that.
So, this says painted pedestrian bump outs, and that's what we discussed during the walking tour, at least the part I was on.
Right.
So they're not physical raised bump outs, which were discussed when
Right.
Delaware Street was repaved and created huge uproar in town that it wasn't historic and it wasn't appropriate in that area. But
Right.
if we're talking about them out at Sixth and Seventh Street, that's not an issue because it's outside the prime historic area.
Right.
But you can paint them on the streets, and if they don't work or we don't like them, they just paint them over with black until they wear off, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I think this is, mission critical for, our city that's 3.1 square miles, is cut off by the railroad and the river, and it has a tremendous amount of cut-through traffic. I think this speaks to capital improvement. I think this speaks to safety. And it hits on a lot of the things, that's gonna increase, people's experiences, whether they're residents, whether they're people in the business community, or whether they're, visitors and tourists. One of the questions that I have is, I think the answer is yes. I don't see it here. Talking about road safety audits. Want to be clear, does this include speed? Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Good. And then what would potentially happen next? Does this get us in line with another potential federal grant to actually do stuff?
Yes.
Or if you could
Mhm.
speak to that.
Yes, so I just want to clarify one thing. I know you asked about if it could be like, this would focus just on Delaware Street alone.
Okay,
Any offshoots of Delaware Street, we didn't identify for this specific. If we wanted to maybe change that, maybe we can ask for that. I don't have an answer.
but we wouldn't be doing bump outs on Delaware Street anywhere, right?
I
Maybe
think the
between
ones that were
third
talked
and
about
second.
and Sixth Street there,
Uh,
we were talking about on our walkthrough, a painted bump out, on all of the sides, I
At
guess.
Sixth in Delaware.
Yes, did I say that?
And you said around
Okay.
Sixth Street, so, but we
Yeah,
also
Delaware,
talked
yes,
about
yes.
Sixth and South, because it's a
Correct.
mess
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah,
But that would not be
Okay,
included because
okay.
isn't on Delaware Street.
but, and we also talked about, second, Delaware Street between second and third, where a lot of the pedestrian traffic could be. But in terms of future funding, yes, this could, just continue to necessitate needs for future projects to permanently install, these features and to actually implement any of the recommendations identified in the action plan. And then we could continue pursuing maybe an additional Safe Streets for All grant or a state, TAP grant, Transportation Alternatives, grant.
And same question for this one. If we go forward with it and we don't come up with a match, what happens?
Yeah, I think we, again, would just be at risk of not being eligible in the future.
Yeah,
So I wanted to see if we can add painted bump out, but we talked about a bump out on Delaware Street. I think it was physical recommendation, so I would just like to see a painted bump out there to see how
Was
residents,
that- oh, you mean,
responded. I don't know if you remember from the meeting, we were talking about physical bump out, like narrowing the time people need to cross. One of the things Marco presented was seconds needed for seniors to cross that
Right.
crossing where Mercury is, that
Right.
pathway. So they were saying some of the solutions potentially could be physical bump out on both sides.
Mhm.
For the, because the cars they are parked are right next to the sidewalk as well, so they're saying that physical bump out would enable, you to see, cars to slow down and stuff. So just would it be interested if we could do painted one there too, just for the sake of a visual test, obviously it's not physical, but just to see how that respond, if the response is.
Yeah, I don't know if we can change the overall scope, but that could certainly be identified in like the action plan, but I'll see if there's any flexibility in that.
If you could, share with us or ask, like, get the radius in question.
Yeah, I have the
Like-
map here.
Like what's in scope, but again, I think this is, this hits on a lot of good stuff. I feel as though this also would equip us to
No,
I'll get
that.
to go to our state bond bill, et cetera,
Yeah.
and say, this is a project, it's real, it's tangible, it's backed up in experts, and this is what we would like your support in. We also know that our state officials have, I believe I forgot the term, but basically discretionary street money, right? So it seems to me like this could be something that we could petition them for
Yeah.
support in
and that would,
throughout the process,
Yeah,
and that would
even in
be,
this or implementation.
yeah, absolutely.
and that would be acceptable as the match because it's not federal pass-through money?
Right.
Okay.
Oh, definitely, definitely, something we need, and my only comment here is, can we do this for more than just half a mile and only just downtown? And this is tricky, my first thought went to right here, around the corner where we had 3, 4 accidents last year. So obviously that's a state street, but what we as a city can do to urge DelDOT to help us,
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so it's the blue outline there.
It's the blue outline, so you can see it's just Delaware Street, the light blue. where it
One other
says
thing
New
that I know that this doesn't include, and I brought it up before, but I really feel like that we have a liability in front of the visitor center right now. So Jim had brought it to us. If you go there, that step is so high.
Mhm.
Like, it's kind of crazy. We have a visitor center there and it's not accessible and all. We almost leave like a bump out, like a ramp down on either side,
Yeah.
especially with the market going on and everything. I do worry. I think that's the biggest liability in the city right now.
I agree.
I agree, I would love to
It's just dangerous.
prioritize that road and get the bricks readjusted over there. It's gonna be very expensive, but I think we do need to make that a priority
Yeah.
because it is such a,
I mean, you see people coming here, and we know the age of people coming here is probably, on the older side. And then you see them trying to get up on that curb to go in the visitor center. You're like, is this really what we want as the visitor center? Like, somebody has to,
You can also
Take
park there, you
Yeah.
gotta let
Yeah.
the passenger come out before you park, it's
Yeah.
also size walking for sure.
and I absolutely would continue pursuing additional opportunities for this grant. I focused on this downtown area because
Yeah,
that's where
yeah.
we had.
No,
the
I
feasibility
understand.
Study, but
Yep.
we can definitely pursue.
Yep.
The scope of this one is limited to that blue area.
Correct.
yeah.
You can't expand the scope.
I don't believe so. I
But it
can,
looks like it goes out to 60, because it goes out almost to the railroad.
Yeah.
correct.
So that means that
All the abutting streets, I'm
all
afraid they
the,
do.
yeah, the cross streets,
Yes.
we could do the test painted bump outs and so forth.
Right, right.
But we couldn't expand, for example, to
Down to
Sixth and
south.
South because that's outside the scope.
Right.
This is off topic, I
Mhm.
fully support this, but what councilperson Day was just saying, would that be possible to be something we applied or under historic preservation, the line we had earlier for the matching? Like, would that be, or is that too small of a grant? to apply
It's
for?
probably too small of a grant
Mhm.
and I don't know because it's not tied to like a specific building. Well, I mean, it is, but the physical building, I don't know if I could.
But it would.
apply, But I
alter-
can have that
It would alter
conversation.
the town, it is a historic,
Yeah.
that's what keep, so I would argue that we could probably tap into more grant than just street,
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. That specific historic preservation grant, I don't know if that would.
I see, I see
But
what you're
a
saying.
few, another
Okay,
one, maybe,
gotcha,
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
You're
I thought
talking
in
about the
general.
one under hack.
Yes.
What
Yes.
it would, put us in alignment before we just missed the window, and that is the AARP. Safety and
Yes.
stuff for, seniors.
Seniors, yes.
So this would put us, in line, for that. Okay.
Yeah. We can definitely look
And,
at that for next year. I did apply for the ARP
Yeah.
for the Delaware River Trail and the dog park.
and I know we're having this conversation, and just for the sake, in case someone is listening that is unaware, there is a pending walkable community study that is gonna take place, in the Dobbinsville
Oh,
area
right.
of the city. So, we are trying to be equitable, and we're trying to get to other areas.
Yes,
Right,
absolutely.
yeah, that's to be scheduled when the weather's better.
Yes.
Just one last question about this. So if we did some kind of accessible ramp on Market Street, could we use the money in the accessible ramp fund now to do that? That's there, the 25,000 that's there?
Like to put a plastic, you mean, like, or whatever, like a.
I've already obligated for
Okay.
projects this year, but if we put that same 25 next year, I don't see why not.
Okay,
Or if we added to
yeah.
that.
I think we gotta
That-
prioritize, you know what I mean? And I definitely would like to see us do something there
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
I
before
support
something
that. I
happens.
support
Okay.
that.
Yep.
I support that.
yeah, absolutely. I can start getting quotes on that.
Immediately.
Well, is that something we should put aside money right now for Antonina to look into, so it is ready before summer?
It was certainly nice to
That's a
have a
patch,
design,
obviously.
that we could allocate money for a design now, so
Yeah,
that we could
well, I have,
rebudget.
we
But-
still have like 70% for engineering, so let
Okay.
me get a quote for how much it'll cost
Okay.
and then.
I appreciate
see if can
that.
move forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So do we need to also authorize you to sign something for this?
You need to get a quote first and then you'll come back to council, right?
That's for the Mark Street, but for Safe Streets for All, yeah, if you just wanted to know whether or not,
Oh, I'm sorry, right?
It's okay.
So again, the consensus seems to be that, yes, we authorize you to move forward, and then we'll see, and continue to seek grants for the match.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. This is great.
Yeah. Okay, and then the next thing is from the finance committee. We met a couple weeks ago. We heard two more presentations from potential financial managers. As with the first pair, one would only manage specific funds and the other one was looking to provide broad banking services. And so now the next finance committee meeting, which is later this month, right?
Yes.
We need to evaluate these presentations because they all gave like 45-minute to an hour
Yeah.
presentations and packets of information. So we need to evaluate that. The other thing that the finance committee briefly talked about was the whole differential tax rate issue. I asked and Mr. Hoffman clarified, I was hoping we could differentiate between large apartment complexes and small, what I call mom and pop landlords who have 4 apartments, 6 apartments, whatever. And the answer was that we cannot. All apartments have to be considered commercial. And so whatever commercial tax rate we come up with, we're going to have to apply it to all apartments. So that's somewhat disappointing. I was hoping we'd have more flexibility.
And there is a interesting found that Councilperson Mattaway and myself discovered when we were looking into this earlier in town of Clayton, if I'm correct. They had a property tax as part of the regular property tax, unit based. So base
Oh,
plus
yes.
unit. So like this would talk about what you're
It's a
saying there. So like,
healthcare.
oh, sorry, yeah, thank you. So like, a larger apartment complex would have a more unit, larger amount based on the unit, and then that would, I don't want to say
That
favor,
would
but it
change the
would
whole
change
structure of our property.
correct.
tax.
But there is a precedent for that to
Right.
look into, I guess. Yeah.
One thing I would just caution, because there's been a lot of dialogue about the constitutional requirements and how taxes are implemented. And right now, and there is currently discussion at the state level in terms of whether apartments should be commercial and should there be a line between a larger apartment and a smaller apartment. The recommendation here in light of all of those conversations are that you set your rates consistent specifically with what the charter change said, which was residential, commercial, industrial. There may be some discussions as we watch what the state's doing in terms of what is commercial versus what is residential, but that you look at residential, commercial, and industrial. At the end of the day, 2 similarly situated properties should be taxed the same. And the more you start getting nuanced into the separation, the greater the risk that you can have 2 similarly situated properties not taxed the same. And then you're opening the door to a constitutional challenge. And that's the thing to keep in mind, which is why the advice and recommendation is stick to what the charter says.
So, at least for now,
Correct.
until,
That's correct.
it's 1 year at a time,
Yeah.
basically, depending. So, my thought, and I don't know, and we're not gonna make a decision tonight,
No.
we're just throwing it out here for you all to start thinking about, is to restore the respective percentages for the 3 different classifications of property. So for example, under the old assessed value, residential was 40% of our tax base, now it's 52%. And commercial was 15%, and now it's 13%. And industrial was 41%, and now it's 34%. So if we simply adjusted the rates to restore those percentages, at least as a starting point, and see what impact that would have. I worry about, for example, our small businesses on Delaware Street. Those would all be taxed commercial. And how would that impact them? I don't know. But at least if we see what the numbers look like when we start talking budget, then we can see if we want to adjust it.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing to look there, to make it equitable as we think about it is as portion of units that we have, what's the 40% of revenue, well, it's also proportion of units we had in 84, whenever this was, established, latest tax, so we can kind of understand why was it, representative of the units in a city, and what is it now? Because, obviously, as we know, there's so much more apartment build that has occurred that, obviously there's new houses and everything, so, but that will be interesting for me to see as well, kind of how do you make it, representative there as well, so we can, not just put it back to those numbers, if those numbers are still not representative of what it
Right, I
could be.
mean, to me, the Garrison and a house that's broken up into 6 apartments are not similarly situated, but legally, other people may view it differently.
I think the one thing, and so you actually use the county, so the county does have a separation, so an apartment, I think, and don't quote me on this, but I think it's, if it is 5 units or smaller, that is residential, even as an apartment.
Ah,
But if it's more than 5, that's considered commercial.
Well-
So that you take the county's classification,
you-
which does include that separation.
if we could use the county's classification, that would be great, because 5 would certainly save a lot of our smaller landlords. And that would also apply, for example, to a building with retail on the bottom and 1 or 2 apartments above.
No, that's a mixed use.
Because mixed use, they're gonna just be commercial.
Again, don't quote me on it, but I believe that's correct, and we can take.
But, all right, those are all things I think we need to find out when we start discussing our fiscal 27 budget.
Yeah.
As like, here's some numbers, this is what it would look like, this is what the average would be for a residential property versus a commercial property. The same kind of things we did last year.
Right.
Only looking at the adjustments to restore these old percentages.
Right.
As I said, as a starting point.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping perhaps we can start the budget maybe a little earlier this year. I'd like to try to finish it by the regular meeting in June.
That's great. Me too.
That's my goal, because
Um,
I'm planned a trip. I'm leaving on
Oh,
June
okay.
14th for 3 weeks. And I deliberately picked dates that were after the June regular meeting, because
Right.
last year I had planned a trip in the middle of budget season and that was problematic.
mhm.
So I'm trying to, but I think it's just good for all of us to get it done by mid-June.
Yeah. Last year we started the budget season the last week in August, and that was
In
not even to
August.
present
You mean April?
April. Did I say? And I did not present the budget until the first week of May. So I think if we start, like, maybe aim for mid-April, to present the first budget iteration, it's gonna be very ambitious, and I still have a few things that are unknown, especially the contract negotiations.
Oh,
But
yeah,
I will
that's a
do my
big unknown.
best, yeah. But I'll do my best to aim for that middle of April start date.
Right, and it might not be quite as complicated as it was last year, because we were doing a very large tax increase.
Right.
And all the uncertainty around the reassessment,
Mm-hmm.
we don't have that to deal with this year.
We just might have it back from the state, like whatever's
Well-
ruling on that is gonna be applied to us too, but, like, that's just, like, that might be the.
And now I learned
Conversation
something
this-
last night. I went to a meeting that Mimi Brown held for civic association leaders, and then sort of at the last minute, she invited the cities, so I went. The bill the state passed, the legislature passed to allow the schools to have differential tax rates is for 2 years. It's not indefinite.
It is, I thought it was 1, but it isn't indefinite, but let me check.
But it, whether it's 1 year or 2 years, it was like a stopgap, as she put it, to try to give some relief to the residential residents in, as opposed to commercial property owners, and to give them time to try to figure it out.
And to Dermot's point though, and so what I understand the intent being is it was, we're gonna fix it for this year and then we're gonna study it and then roll out something else. So we are waiting on what that something else
And,
is.
but the bill they passed specifically applied only to the school tax, right?
Correct.
So it doesn't necessarily impact us, but it certainly sets a precedent.
No, and just keep in mind, there were a number of bills. So
Right.
the bill that was challenged affected the school taxes in Newcastle County. But there was another bill that addressed variable tax rates for municipalities. You were ahead of the game, so you already had or a charter
Right.
change before that. That's a permanent bill. So there's a
Yeah,
lot.
they'd
of
have to write new
pieces.
legislation to take it away from us now, or
Correct.
find it unconstitutional or something like that, but.
Or we need another charter change too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, those are all things we need to start thinking about.
Yeah.
And start working up the numbers for our preliminary budget discussions. And hopefully when Courtney's back, that'll relieve make things a little easier. Have some, well, I know you have some help, but it's
Yeah.
not the same as somebody who really knows our city and our system.
I want to thank you and the finance committee for your work. I know it's been some long meetings that you all have had, so thank you all for that. And a couple of questions that I had were answered. I was wondering about Ellesmere because I thought their model was very interesting.
Yeah, it was like one rate.
And-
Was it-
Yeah, we
It's
talked about
like a
that.
base
Yeah.
rate and then a per unit.
Yeah, I thought that was very.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth exploring, to be honest. I don't see us getting it done for tax year 27 because that would be very complex,
Mhm.
but it's.
And especially if there's some questions
If
about
there's
it.
things up in the air. But it's, again, to keep in the back of our mind for the future, potentially, depending on what else happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I'm constantly mindful of, and I know everyone else is what Ms. Santillo told us last year, and that she thinks the budget is gonna increase at least $400,000 every year. And we know we have a contract coming up. We know that Governor Meyer released his budget, his proposed budget that has a 4% decrease from last year. I'm gonna continue, I know we're all gonna continue to look at, new revenue opportunities, efficiencies, use of technology, talking with other municipalities to see what they're doing. That's why I'm gonna continue.
Yeah, we're gonna
Continue to remain fixed
and
on.
another thing Mimi said last night was the state doesn't have a lot of money. So I think to Antonina's point, we're probably not gonna get bond bill money for street repairs. They expect us to use MSA money for that. And the problem with MSA money, which I hadn't realized until Antonina told me, is we get so much per mile and that rate hasn't gone up in like 40 years. So I mentioned that we were on a call with Governor Josh. Is he the chief of staff?
Yes. I think so.
That he was setting up with all the municipalities. And he was like, oh. So I don't know, maybe he was being nice, but he said he was gonna look into it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they're not gonna give us bond mill money for the streets, if they could at least bump that MSA money up a little bit, it would be helpful.
Right.
And that-
And we know they don't have money to give us for flood,
No,
sea level rise.
no. And that, I mean,
Kind of
there,
swimming.
I don't know how many of you follow Spotlight Delaware, but they did a big analysis of the budget.
Mm.
And they said that most of the money for road repairs comes from gas taxes. And I asked him if the MSA money came out of that same pot, and he didn't know. But that's the basis for the EV and hybrid vehicles being charged an extra registration fee because we're not buying as much gas, therefore we're not paying as much to maintain the roads. So there's a lot of balls in the air, I guess is the bottom line.
Definitely.
Well, it's good then that, we have been proactive about budget, stabilization and capital improvement funds so that, we can start, yielding more interest over the years to help us, in years when external funding decreases. So thank you guys for that. I have 4 questions identified here.
Yeah.
For the fund management conversation, folks that have been coming over here in presentation at a financial, what do we call it?
Finance.
EFAC.
Oh,
Call it EFAC. Was this, the 2 organizations that came, this is to provide a comparison to DCF so we can kind of have a choice from where to,
No.
or is this?
So we had PNC and M&T Bank, who M&T Bank is who we currently use, and they could offer treasury management and oversight of which M&T is doing now of all of our banking, and also investment opportunities for our funds, like the budget stabilization. We can move something like that to PNC. And then the other 2 were Creative Financial and the other company whose name is escaping me. And they were just strictly investments, so they
Okay, I
could
see.
do that just solely focus focusing on our, $4 million budget stabilization fund, maybe capital
Mhm.
improvement fund, or whatever other little funds you wanted to add to that, and how are they gonna invest that, and how is it gonna be liquid, creating that investment policy and all of that.
I would, thank you for looking at that, that's great, like making our money work for us is the biggest service we can do
Yeah.
for our residents. I would suggest talking to the trust. I have met with trust, last year about this. And, one of the trustee members, sorry, not entire trust, so just to be clear. But I was inquiring, how did they invest money, because that's, they have a large portfolio, so, and if we could tag along kind of as a city and partners, and if you guys can maybe pursue that.
Yeah, I don't
communicate with
know.
them to see, if they can present to us as well, and.
Do you know who they use now? It's all right, I was just
UBS,
curious.
I don't know if it's UBS, it's a 3-letter acronym, but I cannot remember right now.
Okay.
But I can get that, to you,
Yeah,
and I'm happy to sit in a, meeting too. But it was something that occurred to me that, they have a huge yield, on
Yeah,
average, I
right.
think we're talking about 10%, and that's unheard of, and we, that would be amazing for us to
Now,
work,
I think they invest in securities, which
Mhm.
we really can't do with tax money because of the risk of loss.
But it would be good to set the meeting to understand that, I guess, so we can kind of know, is that the case, or is it, just bond or, something else?
Yeah, I mean,
I can
that's-
reach out to Mr. Baldini and see who they
Thank you,
use.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
him who was setting up the meeting
But-
when I was.
But that's a big thing for us is.
Oh, for sure, yeah, no, I would not put the city's
Yeah.
funds at risk at all, so I
Right.
just am saying, as part of this conversation, we can
We
check
do
that.
have to
check that
sacrifice
box.
some yield for that security.
Oh, for sure, yeah, but I think
And the
we can meet
liquidity,
with them,
and the liquidity,
And
being able
right.
to touch it
yeah,
quickly.
yeah. Well, that's what I was talking to the trustee at the time, I was like, could we put in your fund and you give us a line, an amount of that fund to have the liquid, because you don't wanna take funds out of that account.
Yeah.
And, it seemed favorable request, although unorthodox, kind of.
Well,
And
certainly we
anyways.
can find out what company they use.
Yeah.
The management firm they use and perhaps talk to them as well.
My second question is, do you have, by any chance, summary of how much of our senior disability tax credit that we have, increased this year? Like, do you have the number that you provided us last year where we talked about this?
I don't,
Okay.
you're talking about
'Cause
data
we-
for the year going forward.
Well, just how much of our revenue have we not?
Yeah, I don't have the
Yeah, 'cause
latest,
we-
but I can get that to you.
Because we raised the income level and we raised the amount of the exemption, so
Yeah, it would be great if we can.
certainly we need that for our budget
Yeah.
discussions.
I know I provided that to you last year based off of what we had thus far,
Right,
but I don't have those final numbers, but I can get that to you.
Yeah, it'll be great. And then same thing, next question is probably gonna be just adding to that list. If you can do the same thing for, I know Councilperson Day is also interested in this, but I know there's a tax avoidance for 5 years for that,
DDA.
yes. And I'm guessing you don't have those numbers of, how much revenue we don't currently collect, just curious about like, if we can get those projections also going forward for all the stuff that's approved, so that while we're building more apartments, we're not gonna be getting property,
well, they're not all in
revenue
the
for it.
DDD.
well,
No,
I'm talking about the ones that are, so like it would be good to know kind of
Yeah, the
projection for the city, so we know, let's say in 3 years, something gets built, but we won't get revenue for 8 years from now.
Right,
You know,
right.
what's
Now, the
right there.
battery is DDD,
Mhm.
Yes, I think we expanded that to be part of it.
but
Yeah.
I don't think the proposed other one that's just barely getting started on the other side of Washington Street.
Oh, I don't know, yeah.
I think that's outside the DDD.
I have to
Unless
double
they-
check.
Yeah, I don't
Come
think
on,
we went past Washington.
No,
Street
I don't
to
think we did
DDD.
either. Because I think like that fiber, Wilmington Fiber,
Mhm.
because I remember talking to the owner of that and he was like, I would love to be able to take advantage of it, but I'm not in the DDD,
Yeah.
just outside it.
There is room for expansion if that's a conversation you
Yeah.
wanna pursue.
Yeah, that's.
Absolutely.
But it has to be connected.
Right,
And if we're ever getting that request at our table, could you provide projections for that as well? Just
Yeah.
as we're
Yeah.
making these decisions as a council, whatever new area is being added, just, it'd be great to have those numbers so that we can, as a council, know that's $100,000 a year. I'm just making numbers, 5,000, so that we know, okay, we can, as a city, absorb this, if you will.
Yeah.
And-
Is it a percentage though, or is it complete
Oh, it's complete.
exemption
complete.
for taxes?
Yeah.
for 5 years,
Okay.
for
I
new
think so,
construction.
yeah. And my last question is, when is the bond bill application due and how can we, get a current list. I know this is just because we're talking about, budget season not being, but
Yeah.
like, can be prioritized as a city and, get a
Yes.
list that's
So
council.
I
so we
have
can-
the engineer and our building official evaluating the streets and prioritizing. We, of course, are going to include the ones that we did not get approved for last year. So I will get those numbers soon and those streets prioritized, and it's due May 1st.
Okay.
And then I will identify the other projects that we're looking to pursue.
I mean, potentially the match for the,
Mhm.
The river trail
right,
and the safe
Both of
creeks.
them.
Yes.
In Buttonwood, we have seen increase of, permits or, parcel,
Right.
stuff. So I'm
All
just
the
wondering
infill
if there,
stuff going in.
I'm just wondering when is that being built out and if we can align some of the improvements on the sidewalks and roads there as,
Yeah, a lot of those streets were included in last year's request.
Okay, that's great.
So they'll likely be.
All right,
included
perfect.
this
So
year.
we already have
Yeah.
funds for those streets. I just
Well,
was
no,
trying to be
we
strategic.
don't,
They asked for it,
we
they
asked for
didn't
them.
give
but
Oh,
us
they were
any-
not.
Yeah.
I thought we
They
had a
didn't-
900.
they didn't give us any street
Okay,
money
we'll go
last
back.
year.
There are some streets that were approved over there, but there's additional that I've asked for last year.
So what were approved? Because we were just looking at the grants and there was like a 900 from the most recent. Those,
Those streets got approved only, like stuff.
You're
for,
thinking of 25.
The admin building, the police station.
okay.
Playground, some of those things, but yeah, no street.
Oh, yeah,
money.
this is FY 25, you're right. Okay, I just had a high, large
It's
number
okay.
here. Okay,
Yeah, FY 25, I can tell you just give me one second.
855. For streets. 855,000. I was just looking at it here.
Boundary Street, Cherry Street,
Oh, okay, Mill Street.
10th Street from Washington to Kings. And then we had 24, which wasn't done that year, so we put everything in 25, and that was like, pull it up.
10th Street's pad, that's good.
Mhm.
Now, those are the ones that were
Queens.
turned down last year, and we're gonna try again, right?
Correct,
Wait, these are the ones that were turned out or awarded? Sorry.
those were awarded
Oh, those would be awarded in 25,
in 25.
but for 26, we didn't get any street money from the bond bill, right?
Right, but remember for the projects that we initiated in 25, we also included FY 24 because those projects are incomplete.
Mhm.
So 24 included Queens, Buttonwood Avenue from Meehan to Railroad as well. So that's what's going on. That's what already happened last summer in terms of improvements in Buttonwood. But there were additional requests that I made last year in that area that did not get approved.
Mhm.
When is the county building or apartment complex supposed to be built over where the industrial zone is on the water over Route 9 that would be bordering city, for anybody in the room?
I don't know.
It's been approved, right?
I'm sorry.
That
County?
apartment complex has been approved in county outside of city on Route 9. It's industrial complex right now where,
You mean River Edge?
You're talking about By River?
yeah, by the river.
Oh, that's in the city.
That's
No,
all.
not that side, south side.
You're talking about By River Bend, right? I
Yes.
don't know.
Oh, you
South
mean
side.
Yeah.
The paper mill building?
I don't know what's it
River
called.
Road, somewhere River
It's
Road?
definitely county
Yo,
space.
print pack?
Impact, I'm sorry,
I think so,
what
yeah.
was
Impact,
Yeah, I don't
Cass
know
County.
the time.
I don't know that I've
Yeah,
seen
that's
any
not-
plans for
But
that.
that's been approved, right? Or,
No, I haven't even seen a plan at the county for that.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
At-
yeah, I've
at
heard
one
that
time-
rumor too, but I haven't.
Okay.
At one time, there was an approved plan for that whole side down there, not Print Pack itself, but the property just south of it on the other side of Grant's-on Blaine on the river. There was a whole plan for townhouses and everything, but that never went forward, and I don't think that the property owner now is going forward with that.
I thought it was, okay, but that's, we have a lot already happening, so.
Yeah.
Not a- yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, are we finished with finance?
But I will say that if something happens down there, we want to easement through Print Pack for that, extend that trail.
Right,
Yeah.
Great talk.
so the next item is the excess real estate transfer tax. Now, there's 50,000 you mentioned. That
Yes.
was unexpected also, or is that just normal?
Well, that's just normal
It
business.
just happened to come all but it's long.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we get
The
very.
only potential sort of windfall of transfer tax is the sale of Stevens Landing and the Helm, right?
Yes.
Do we have any idea at this point, or we still don't know how much that might be?
A rough estimate would be about 200,000. for Deemers. But I don't wanna give a definitive number, because I don't
No,
have.
no, because we don't know how much, what the sale price was, right?
The sale price is on the county website now.
Yeah, I saw Deemer's was 36,876,500.
That's for both companies?
No, that's one.
That's
that's Deemer.
Deemer's,
And
that's
the
the
other one's
larger one.
19 million.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's a
I
smaller.
mean,
one.
that's
awesome.
awesome. If you already have it
Yeah.
calculated.
36,870.
No, what we need for the city for the.
What's the trade?
Oh, well,
You said 36 what?
36,876,500. According to the charter, it's, 1.5%.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was.
So.
1% will,
553.
yeah, 1% is like 368,000, so 1.5.
553,000.
That's the,
47.
what we should be receiving as a city.
For
And
that,
that's
Yeah.
just for,
That's something.
that's just
Deemer.
for Deemers. The other one is 19 million, which would be
Well,
200,000.
So we're looking at like $700,000.
wow.
In excess, plus
And Deemer
we're
says.
we've only received up till the middle of January, so we still
We
have.
got half a year left, or almost half a year left in transfer tax.
I mean, we could fund a lot of street work with that.
We sure could,
Well,
Um,
hopefully we
could.
stave off raises and taxes.
right,
right?
yeah, that would be the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Good.
If that, because if
Yeah.
you anticipated increased expenses of 400, that gives us a cushion of 300.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
That was just a rough estimate based on what I know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of.
Right, right.
When is that? I know you mentioned this estimate even budget season last year. Like, when did you revise that? Like, when,
The
like,
400?
yeah, cause you
that
mentioned that
was-
number last.
That
year.
was what was known with the FOP.
That's right, and AFSMI, we don't know
And
yet.
when is the negotiation for?
It's ongoing.
They're starting that.
Oh,
They
it's-
started, yeah. She started.
Selfishly, when, curious when we would be in the room, just.
We have an
for my
executive
purposes.
session next,
We do?
yes, at
Oh,
the house.
After the regular.
Oh,
council.
I got you, I got
Now, let's hope the regular council meeting doesn't come too long.
you. Yeah.
So, I mean, it potentially, yeah, we could avoid raising taxes and maybe also fund some
And have a
street
little
work,
Yeah,
which would be terrific.
Yeah.
But until we know the exact amount,
Yeah, it's,
right,
I know the properties were sold, December 17th.
yeah,
And in looking at a lot of the stuff is cyclical, or excuse me, connected, but in looking at the capital improvement fund and the budget stabilization fund, a number of months back, and then looking through examples, right, and trying to identify like what is an example of budget stabilization, what is an example of capital improvement. I saw that in 2016, one of the prior councils, one of these large properties was sold again.
oh, that's when Garrison sold
And,
it.
and they used approximately $400,000 to allocate toward Delaware Street project.
Oh,
And
right,
so the thought was, hey,
Yeah.
you know, learning from the past, right? And can we do something potentially similar if there's an appetite in terms of thinking ahead?
Well, and if we worked it out, I mean, the transfer tax, I mean, we've already collected 88%. And, I mean, so at the end of this, even besides Garrison and, or the Deemers and the Helm, we may have another 200 or 250,000 there where we could, you know what I mean, allocate it to more infrastructure stuff, like you said, the road
Yeah.
improvements and on.
and not have to raise taxes.
Exactly,
Yeah.
be able to still do some stuff and not have to raise the
Right, that would be
taxes.
terrific. So,
Yep.
I think eventually, just to broaden the conversation, I think eventually we should have that money set aside to build upon for future budgets and future capital projects and things
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. But yeah, for definitely for this year going forward, you know, we could hopefully supplement the
right,
taxes.
Yeah, that was the hope. Like I was hoping that, you know, the check would be in
Me
the mail, you know, by
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
but,
Well, that's the whole idea,
Yeah.
sweeping stuff into that stabilization
Yeah.
account and into the capital improvement account, I
right,
mean.
because then that empowers
but-
more of the yield,
Yeah.
you know, even.
And I'm always all for that, but not after raising taxes 49% this year. I'm a little leery, you know what I mean?
Well, no, I think,
Like, I wanna-
yeah, I mean, you can't argue that, you know, as a city, our first responsibility is to citizens, so like, yeah, if we can
Yeah.
alleviate increase, for sure. Yeah, I think you mentioned earlier, and, you know, as part of capital improvement fund, you know, like, we would be presented with a, you know, needs, identify needs across the city, so it'd be great to, if we have, once we have that excess, that, you know, we were talking about where to put it.
Yeah.
In which one of these funds, obviously, like, it would be great to know that, so we can kind of you know, that would help us ongoing list of, okay, once we have extra, that we put in capital, we put in budget, we, you know, put in an operating fund, then this other excess or whatever, you know, fund that we want to talk about can be utilized for top 3, top 5, you know, so I think that would be great.
Priority.
This is a great example why that living document was gonna be great, so we can kind of think,
Yeah.
not just short term, but also in that document, I hope that we have like long-term identified projects to say, this is coming up, let's put money aside. You know, like we've been doing, 10,000 for 5 years from now, 35,000 for grant matching, you know, so. I think that I like that as a city, so that we're setting up other councils and the city, you know, for future, not only just being reactive right now, as well as the budget shrink federally, statewide, that we can, you know, react to that as well, so.
And for me, it's like, you know, when this comes in, how can we, or even other monies, because it kind of goes into the other conversation, you know, do we want this sitting in an account getting 1% interest? You know, or do we want it in an account getting 4%? Right, and if it sits there for 4 months, right, and we move it back, right, we're empowering ourselves to do more.
Yeah. Well, that was my question. I didn't reread this ordinance. The interest that the budget stabilization fund earns, does the ordinance provide that that interest stays in that fund, or is that available for other budgetary purposes?
I'm sure we made it
We was
available.
agnostic, I don't think it.
If it doesn't
Yeah.
preclude or,
Yeah, I think we said council can decide to take everything out, you know, like it's all in the council.
so, but yeah, certainly if we can move it in there, like if we get this big $700,000, put it in there, earn some interest till we do the budget,
Yeah.
see where things stand. And,
Yeah. And sweep it all in there.
right,
Yeah.
because, well, that was one of the things that the financial people were talking about, was utilizing sweep accounts, and we do that to some extent already. But maybe we could do more of it. I think it was M&T was talking about.
Yeah, because we use that's what we're doing for the budget stabilization, it's a sweep account. But they're always encouraging us to consider it for our other funds.
Yeah.
Right. So then the final thing is, we sort of flows naturally into it, is how much money, do we think we can move into the capital improvement fund? From what you're giving us, it seems like we really can't afford to put the whole 2 million.
Yeah, I would prefer if we didn't, I would feel most comfortable if we put 1 million. I could maybe stretch to 1.5 million, but just to summarize, I did put this
Right.
in your packet.
The mid-year summary,
Yes, so the remaining expenses for the year are 3,813,651.09. And the available funding in all of our unrestricted funds is $6,738,115.27, leaving a surplus unrestricted balance of $2,924,464. So that's less than the 6 months, less than the 308 million. I'm sorry, 3,800,000.
right. So if we move 1 million now
Yeah,
instead of 2, and then potentially, once we finish with the budget and we know what's coming with this property tax, we may be able to do perhaps at least another couple $100,000.
yeah, so
Because we're not limited to doing it once a year, right?
correct. And the issue with the capital, not the issue, the concern that I have with moving 2 million is that it's the capital infrastructure fund, not budget stabilization. So that fund is limited to those items, capital improvements.
Right.
So, while it's liquid, I think there's still that concern of having enough on hand, cash on hand, to fund. any
I was
unexpected.
wondering if people would consider doing 1.6, how it got to 1.6. Ms. Tindall said she would be comfortable with 1.5. I'm carrying forward that 125,000 that's currently in the capital reserve.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm saying, could we get the,
Well,
I guess, 1.625?
I thought that 125 was already there and we were just gonna add to that.
So,
Oh, okay.
yes, we would do
So-
that.
Yeah,
But what we would want to talk about is, am I going to set up an investment like the sweep account to earn interest. This fund that's already set up is not an interest earning account. But what I set up is similar account to the budget stabilization fund where we would earn that interest. And I think that would be a great idea.
Yes,
Yes.
But I just want to make sure.
yes, I think that's hopefully what it calls for in the ordinance. I know obviously we're having a discussion today. But as,
So if we moved 1 million or perhaps 1.5 million to add to the 125 in the existing and then authorize Ms. Tantillo to change that account to an interest-bearing account. Similar to the budget stabilization fund, as long as it's like, well, the budget stabilization fund, you need access to right away. The capital fund, you normally, you know what's coming with that and you can plan for it. The only fund that wouldn't be the case, I guess, is if we had a big flood and we needed to do repairs, because that would be capital.
Well, both of them we have
it's a
to-
money market fund, so it's like overnight
No, it's-
availability.
It's a sweep account.
What I'm saying is that you have availability next day.
Yes, you
Sweep in,
could.
sweep out.
Yes,
That's what I'm saying.
yes, but
Unlike treasuries, unlike a CD that you have to redeem out of, or securities that you have to sell and be available in 3 days.
Right. So if we,
But just remember, again, the capital improvement is more restrictive in what we could use it for than the budget.
Right.
stabilization.
It is, but we've talked about things that we have interest in. To me, the Market Street is considered capital improvement. Potential trail study, matching is capital improvement. And,
Safe Street
the Safe Streets is capital improvement, in addition to the street work that got denied, by the state last year. That we know we wanna look at some point as well.
So maybe this is a naive question. I'm no banker, that's for sure. But does it have to be a separate account? Now, we could, on paper, we could have it as separate accounts, but it all could be going to the same place. So it's all collecting the same amount of money. We ain't gotta set up another sweep account kind of thing. I mean, as long as we have it separated on paper and we know how much one is in each, does it matter?
I'm indifferent.
I don't know, and I don't know the benefits of that, but it sounds like we're doing good with what we got set up.
It's harder to track probably, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would just be harder to track the interest and
Because
separate
it's
accounts.
just one account that we would.
are there fees associated with those accounts?
Yes, we've had some of them waived because of the amount that we are carrying. And just remember also the fees for like the money market account, we do have a lot of those waived because of the amount. And that will change based on any reduction that moves it to.
It just seems like the more money we can get out of the account, the more interest we're gonna get, the better we're gonna be off. But like I said, I don't know all the ramifications.
I'm happy to be convinced otherwise. I don't have issue, as long as we can portray
we
on
document
paper.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I just don't want it in the account getting the 1%.
Well, no,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
no, that makes no sense.
But yeah, I'm with you. I thought about it last year, but I didn't wanna, I just wanted it to,
Yeah, as long as we can show it on paper, I don't know what the difference is, but I mean, we
You
can.
see, if we
we
could
can
get the
account for it.
same amount, same rate. I prefer for it to be separate, just so that we can
Okay.
track it. Cleaner, I mean, either way, we
Yeah.
can track it cleanly, but, I think it would just be clearer that
Mhm.
separation. If we
They
did
just
keep it
earned their-
separate.
I understand,
Yeah,
but if we can't get the same rate, then it's gotta be, you know what I mean?
Yeah, if
You
we
gotta-
can't get
is
the
it
same
worth
rate,
it
then
or is it not
right.
worth it? And I know the interest may be harder to track, but let's face it, the interest is just the icing on the cake.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean, we'll be glad to have to split that interest up if we need to.
But just proportionately,
Yeah,
if we're not down to the penny, it's not.
So does the section 3 of the ordinance have to be changed then, because it talks about, initial deposit being 2 million after the mid-year budget period now, is that something we would have to change then if we go with lesser amount than that?
So the short answer is no, because you're not changing the ordinance, you're changing the implementation of the ordinance. But I do think it's helpful just to summarize what the ordinance envisions as far as setting this up. So the way that it was structured is we're talking about the initial deposit. What still is gonna happen in fiscal year 2027 is Anthony is going to make a 5-year capital plan. And then you're gonna review that 5-year capital plan and you're gonna determine what amount needs to be in this fund to support that 5-year capital plan. And then the ordinance also has a provision that when you audit, how much goes in there. So what you're talking about today is purely what you're putting in as an initial amount. Then you're gonna have your 5-year capital plan, you're gonna confirm how much you need in there, and you're gonna make whatever allocations you need for that. So that's kind of how it's set up structurally. So the ordinance itself envisioned $2 million, but it recognized that depending on where your cash flow, it might make sense to have your mid-year review confirm whether $2 million is the right number. So you can, it requires a vote today, say, nope, we're good with 2 million, or today you can say we want some other amount for that initial deposit. Then again, the next step is your 5-year capital plan and you determine what that right amount is.
Okay, I guess my fear with moving the whole 2 million now is if we lock ourselves in, we could be forced to raise taxes because we locked away this $2 million. And I don't want us to be in that position.
To that more prescriptive fund.
Right, that's what I mean, that it's only for street work and so forth. Whereas if we do 1 million now, and then at the end of the fiscal year, we see where things stand, we'll have that money from the big transfer, property transfer. We'll know what our budget is shaping up for the next year, whether or not we need to raise taxes, hopefully not with this big influx of transfer tax. And then if there's like money left over at the end of fiscal 26, we can put more into this fund.
I'm fine with that. The reason why this is on the agenda today is because as amended in the meeting where it got approved, was that it would come back at this point
Right,
after the audit by Giordano and Wissman and at the mid-year.
right. Oh, absolutely. We needed to talk about it
Yeah.
tonight. But I guess, so I'll move that we put $1 million into the capital improvement fund at this point and evaluate at the end of the fiscal year if we can move more.
Chair can't make a motion,
Oh, sorry.
but if somebody wants to adopt that motion, they can.
Well, I guess I have just before we move to that, I have a question. As an alternative to that, could we discuss the possibility of moving 1 million there and 1 into money market, so we're still yielding more interest of.
It's there.
Because, not money market, sorry, for the budget stabilization, so
Oh.
the 2 million is transferred out of money market as we prescribed, just in a different fund, so it can still be accessed if we need it faster, but it's earning 4 times more interest rate. Is that,
As long as it's accessible if we need it,
because it's more prescribed, so, but
it's
Yeah.
less.
we are making some better financial decision in the meantime for 6 months coming up to say we tripled our interest rate on that same amount of money.
And
That's-
the whole purpose of budget stabilization is if that would enable us to not raise taxes.
Right.
Yeah,
Is that
Do you
something?
see any
that-
issues with that, Antonina?
Let me just take a look real quick. Sorry.
The one is so it's just, I'll take this one step at a time. So it is still an encumbered fund. So even though it isn't as prescriptive as your capital fund, it is still a restricted fund. So it can be used, budget stabilization can be used during natural disaster or public emergency. It can be used during periods of reduced revenues or increased expenditures. And those are your two instances. So it is
Yeah.
still restrictive, but it's not as restrictive as the other.
Right.
I guess the question that I have is, so we're not talking about potentially putting it into the budget stabilization fund. You're talking about more of an accounting. Where does it sit to be eligible for the interest? And I think that's more of a question for the accounts. So if you're not, it's where you hold your money, right? So it becomes an accounting question. So it's not about putting in the budget stabilization or whatnot. It's where that money's being held, which is an accounting question.
Well, yes and no. I am proposing to move it there for financial reasons to the budget stabilization, the other million, so we can yield more money as a city, so we can close whatever gap we do have, put more, money that created itself by being there. But I would want to be moved into capital, improvement fund so that we do have that 2 million of initial deposit there. And obviously at the budget season, we're gonna have a plan, 5-year plan that we're gonna discuss and say, we don't need this, we need more, you know, so we can kind of be more strategic, but I eventually would like us to move it there, so we're, you know, filling that to that point we talked about and discussed for too, and then, you know, identify, you know, where it needs to be, because ordinance says we just need to keep it at 500, not just, but like, keep, that's going forward, right? So once we start spending the account, so I see it as being very fluid, because we're gonna review it twice a year, so. But in the meantime, that's my proposal. Now, I don't want it to be budget stabilization going forward, because that is what we earmarked as a council for capital later. I'm just saying to move it now as a smarter financial decision there, but we can still access it.
I mean,
But
the-
theoretically easier,
Oh, sorry.
you know.
I was gonna say, if we put 1 million in budget stabilization, the periods of increased expenses and decreased revenue, I mean, if we wanted to use it to avoid having to raise taxes, that would fit under that.
It would have to be increased expenses.
Right.
That's right. I guess my question, just to understand what the goal is, if the goal is, and I am not a finance person, so I'm gonna simplify it for my understanding. If the goal is to put it into an account to yield higher interest, I'm not certain it has to be earmarked for budget stabilization.
To go into that.
So that's what I mean by an accounting. So if it's an accounting question, is the question, can we put it into a higher earning fund? And then it just becomes
Earmarked for capital, yeah.
earmarked for budget. To Joe's point, I mean, does it have to be on a separate fund, or can it be held in the same account, generate the interest, but what is earmarked for the fund is what you're out? I don't know.
So the way that the budget stabilization sweep account is called budget stabilization. Perhaps I could open 2 accounts, one for capital and one for unrestricted fund, just like we have the money market retention, that's unrestricted. We can open an unrestricted sweep that could earn greater interest.
You mean the same interest as budget stabilization, because my proposal for it being there is, so it's our best earning account currently, so.
Potentially, but that interest amount was based on putting the 4 million. So I would have to confirm that we could earn that same amount on a lower.
Well, even if it was 3.5, it's still more than we're getting now.
Yeah.
My concern and I don't know the finance, and so I completely understand the goal. My concern is when you're talking about encumbering funds, you really should put the funds that you want to encumber. And so if 4 million is what you want for budget stabilization, I would recommend not putting 5 million unless you want 5 million for budget stabilization.
We want 6 months worth, you know, of our budget ideally in there. So I mean, going forward, the fund will be 5 million eventually, right? So like, you know, whenever we're making that transfer to capital, we might not even need to transfer entire million back, but some difference, you know, that whatever, you know, after these sales of properties or whatever the end of year math ends up being, I don't, you know.
Well, it sounds like we're coming back to my initial suggestion to move 1 million into capital improvement now. Wait till the end of the fiscal year, see where things stand, and then we can move more potentially.
Mhm.
Now, if we want, in the meantime, because on $1 million, you'd earn significant interest in the time between now and the 3.5 months between now and the end of the fiscal year. If we could put it into some kind of another sweep account, that would depend on the bank, its rates for a lower amount of money.
Mhm.
And perhaps did they consider that was more of a long-term account, that we weren't going to be moving money in and out?
No, they knew that we needed it to be liquid.
It's the same bank, so they're getting paid off how much they have in deposit.
Right.
And then they're giving us a portion thereof. So hopefully it would be viewed as a relationship pricing,
Right.
right? You know,
Like
the
making 3 accounts like
entity,
on reserve.
the city of Newcastle is,
A good
you
customer,
know,
etc.
yeah, their
Yeah,
but
relationship
it's still-
balance is,
Having multiple accounts is more expensive for them, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And so they might not be willing to give us quite as good a deal. I don't know.
I think maybe we need to look at the way that we expend the funds and the language in the ordinance before we.
So what's concerning there? I'm curious, what's
Yeah.
concerning for Are you talking about capital or BSF?
BSF.
What's already part there? I thought it was pretty liquid up until 100%, right? Isn't a
So
three?
that's for emergency. Mhm.
Oh, this is just emergency?
Yes, and then used during periods of reduced revenues or increased expenditures. BSF may be expended to fund the annual operating budget during a period of reduced revenues or increased expenditures, including due to reductions in the transfer tax, building permits, and accrued interest. Funds expended from the BSF in any given fiscal year shall not exceed 5% of the city's operating budget and shall be expended only upon approval by a majority of the members. Elected, no accumulated funds shall be expended under the section until FY 27. Annual operating
well,
budget.
So we're talking about 400,000 roughly in that percentage.
Because the will of the council is the will. I just think we're all the place, we don't want $125,000 to be here next year.
no,
Right?
no.
If it's a million, and right, and if it's a million now and more later,
And we did skip, I mean, there is the subsection 4, which says notwithstanding the provisions to the contrary, at any time, the city council may deem necessary and appropriate, the remaining balance may be expended from the, so you do have that
We
liquid.
added that to make sure it's.
Right, the caution is what you are potentially putting yourselves into a situation of is saying, we're gonna take a large chunk from budget stabilization. And you're gonna have to, you can, under subsection 4. Best practice is typically, you've got your funds for your funds purposes and to earmark those for those purposes as you see appropriate.
Mhm.
And I would just caution for not only public perception, but accounting from putting money into funds that you don't really intend them to be, unless you say, look, we are gonna need it, and I do want it to go in there, but that's the caution.
No, my proposal is only eventually to move it back in capital because we earmarked those 2 million for capital anyways, and that's at end of fiscal year or 6 months from that is gonna end up being there. If all these things continue normal and nothing crazy hits us as a city, I'm okay either way. I don't, wanna keep us long in a room. I just like the yield that we're getting that's higher there that, that can give us $300,000 more, let's say, by the end of the year that we can use for matching grants that we just talked about tonight. And we can say, well, doing this, I'm not gonna come, I personally won't come 6 months from now and say, you can't have this $1 million back from BSF because, we have a gap to close sitting here, like, we just moved it for purposes of, what we thought was a smart decision. So I'm okay either way. I'm not gonna.
I think we commit the 1 million to the capital improvement and then let Antonina do a little bit more research on the accounts and figure out in the next few weeks if we can create another account or if we just add it in there and we just have a separate line. I don't know how to do it, but it sounds like, that she probably wants to be more comfortable with it too.
Yeah,
So is a proposal then to have a 1 million to capital now, and if feasible to create an unreserved, call it whatever, 1 million
Per million.
line?
That's what I was thinking.
I'll make a motion.
and to be clear,
Oh, sorry.
this is 1,000,001, right? Because we're carrying forward.
1125.
The one, yeah.
Well, we'll pull
Because
that
that,
120.
yes, yeah, that was going to be clear.
Yeah, the 125 would be added to the million, or the million would be added to the 125, however you wanna look at it,
For the new capital improvement.
for the
fund.
new capital.
yeah. So move $1 million from the unrestricted fund balance to the existing capital fund
Right,
and establish a capital fund sweep account to earn greater interest.
right,
Correct.
so is that the motion?
But we're not looking for unreserved 1 million as well? That's what I'm just talking about, that you would look into with a bank.
Yes.
So you
Yeah,
want
that
unreserved,
doesn't
not,
need
not,
to be
It doesn't need to be a motion, that's consensus, and I think that is consensus, you just need the motion on the month.
So is that a motion to move the million?
motion to move.
Second. I just didn't want to confuse anything.
Okay.
Okay, can you please restate it specifically
Okay,
what
so
the
the
motion
motion
should be?
is to move $1 million from the unrestricted funds into the capital improvement funds. And that's it for the motion, the rest of it is,
Do we need to add 125 in that conversation for the
do
motion?
we need to mention the
That's just-
125?
It's already-
No, because it's existing.
It's already in there, and then you will create the account with that,
Okay.
so that is your motion.
And that was made by Mr. Day.
Yes.
And seconded.
Seconded by Mr. Spahn.
The other way around, but it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Add a way in there or something.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion is approved.
That's great.
Now, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Thank you.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you all.
Good night, all. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
To see the, interest, honestly, what we talked about in the past is now. Political, that's great.
Yeah.
So what prompted those big sales? Like, I didn't know that was in the works.
Yeah.
No idea.
Anybody